Welcome back to the channel. This is Trendy Storm and you are watching second and final part of What If Naruto Was Banished and Fall in Love with Shizuka. If you enjoy this video, please like, share and subscribe to this channel. Now wasting no more time, let's start the story.
Before Kyuubi could respond, Naruto cut the mental connection and declared, "I'm going to ignore you for the whole trip." Time-lapse Suzuka, holding a pair of chopsticks in her mouth, said, "Naruto-kun? Yeah, don't you think he's acting a little weird after yesterday?" Mickey responded. Suzuka stated, "Well, he did wake up from a coma. Yeah, but don't you think there's more to it? I mean, he went into a small coma after the race and then a 2-week coma shortly after. That's weird, and Lan and Ayano-san seems to know why, especially that day with that talk about genjutsu or whatever. They know something we don't," Mickey responded. "Now that you say, there's some strange things, like when Naruto-kun saved me from Arima, his eyes changed colors to red and then went back to blue," Suzuka responded. Mickey asked, startled that she had forgotten the subject. "That is straw. Wait, saved you from Arima? When did this happen?" Suzuka's face was flushed. Suzuka blushed as she recalled Naruto calling her beautiful, on the day of the tournament. "Arima came for me after hearing me insult him and calling him lower level. One of Arima's followers was about to hurt me when Naruto-kun came out of nowhere and saved me." Mickey was in full gossip mode. "Wow. That's so awesome. Maybe he likes you," Mickey continued to inquire. In the evening, Suzuka was strolling outside after preventing Mickey from going overboard. She only went for a stroll at the track, that is, until she noticed Hinoka and Yamato seated on the stairs. She felt someone grab her just as she was ready to call them. She had her mouth shut before realizing it was Naruto. She believed it to be a rapist. "What are you doing?" Suzuka angrily exclaimed. Naruto muttered, "Shush, they're about to confess." Suzuka glanced at Yamato and Hinoka with a startled expression. She was shocked to learn that Hinoka had just kissed Yamato and fled. She noticed Yamato dancing strangely after Hinoka had left. Suzuka remarked, "That just ruined the mood." Naruto sighed at his cousin's antics and said, "It's Yamato." Before he realized he was practically giving Suzuka a hug, he relaxed. Naruto said, Sorry Asahina-chan, I was just helping." Suzuka whispered the final line, hoping he wouldn't hear her, but he did because of his chakra-enhanced ears. "Don't worry, I didn't mind," and blushed even more. Naruto changed the subject by asking, "So what are you doing out here?" Suzuka said, "I was trying to get away from Mickey." Naruto said, "Oh." After that, there was quiet. Naruto inquired, "So have you ever kissed anyone?" Suzuka reddened. Suzuka replied, "No, have you?" Naruto looked pale and said, "Ah, well, yes." Despite her disappointment, Suzuka became concerned after noticing the color of his face. "What's wrong?" inquired Suzuka. Naruto appeared to be on the verge of throwing up. After a few minutes, "So you?" asked Suzuka. Naruto gave a nod. Suzuka erupted in laughter and exclaimed, "Ha ha ha ha. Stop laughing. It's bad enough I had my first kiss taken away by an emo bastard. I don't need people to laugh at my demise," said Naruto. Suzuka kept laughing. Sorry, it's just that, ha 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 ha." As Naruto put it, seriously, Suzuka continued to laugh and said, Sorry. "Do you miss them?" inquired Suzuka. Naruto asked, Suzuka inquired, "Do you miss your old friends?" Gazing at the moon, Naruto remarked, "Not really, technically they were never my friends, they never acted like friends anyway." Suzuka cast a sorrowful glance at Naruto. Naruto said, "Hey, can I ask something?" Suzuka replied, "Sure." "Who's Suda Kazuki?" inquired Naruto. Suzuka gasped. Suzuka said, how do you? I heard you and Yamato fight the day before the tournament." Naruto replied. Suzuka remained silent, looking into her eyes. Naruto could see that she was bothered by whoever Suda Kazuki was. Naruto started, "Don't worry, you don't have to," but Suzuka cut him off. "Suda was my senpai in my middle school. He was an annoying guy and we would always fight, but that changed on my first tournament. I was so scared that I couldn't perform well until he came and cheered me up. After that I saw him in a new light when he was about to go to a tournament that could make him the best in Japan. He asked me out, said I didn't have to answer him until he became #1 in Japan." Suzuka chuckled. "If that's so, then why did you have a sad look on your face when I mentioned him? Did he break up with you or cheat on you?" replied Naruto. "None of those, we never went out in the beginning," Suzuka replied. Naruto questioned, "Then what?" "On the day of the tournament he forgot some of his gear, so he ran back, but on the way he forgot to watch out for a cross light and was hit by a car." Suzuka groaned. Naruto replied, "Oh." Then there was silence, knowing that he had no chance against Suda even after his death. Naruto questioned, "So you really loved him, huh?" Suzuka smiled at Naruto, hoping he would pick up on the hint, and said, I don't know anymore. There's this one guy that's been on my mind, but because he was so naive, Naruto assumed it was someone else. Naruto remarked bitterly, really? Who is he? Must be a lucky guy. Suzuka caught herself and said, maybe? So have you lost anyone? Other than your parents? Then expressing regret. Don't worry Asahina-chan, I never knew my parents so I have no clue how I'm supposed to feel, but to answer your question, I have seen one of my friends die. His name was Haku. He died protecting the person he cared about, so I guess you could say he died honorably. Then there was Gigi, though I think he was happy to die considering he didn't have to do any more paperwork and he could see his wife again. Naruto replied. Suzuka said, sorry, Naruto remarked, don't worry, but they did teach me something. Curious, Suzuka inquired, what is it? They taught no matter what comes in your way, always protect those that are precious to you, and I have been living with that lesson all my life. The will of fire, said Naruto. The will of fire? Suzuka questioned, perplexed. In my home town, it means never give up and always protect your friends, said Naruto. Suzuka gave a nod. They then began discussing other topics. To Naruto's dismay, they forgot the whole depressing thing and returned to Naruto kissing an emo bastard. The following day, with Yasunobu, Yamato, and Lan by his sides, Naruto is seen relaxing on the inn's balcony hall. Naruto didn't give a damn about the people next to him because he was too preoccupied with his thoughts about the night before. She lost a loved one. Moreover, she has a romantic partner. I'm going to kill that bastard, damn it, Naruto roared in his head. Yamato asked, observing his cousin's distressed expression, Naruto-san, are you okay? Naruto grinned. Naruto responded, yeah, but the main question is, are you okay? Huh? Asked Yamato. Naruto smirked at the flushed Yamato and said, how was Hanoka's lips? Were they soft? Did you go to her room after you did your weird dance? No way. You kissed her? Exclaimed Yasunobu suddenly. Suzuka said, he sure did, and did a weird dance afterwards. Naruto thought, I swear, she's becoming more of a ninja. She has spent too much time with Naruto. I didn't even feel her, Lan reflected. Yamato shouted, how do you guys know? You are truly a moron, aren't you? You were in plain sight, Suzuka said. Anyone could have seen you. Yamato was about to strike back, but Naruto stopped him. So, Asahina-chan, what has brought you here this lovely morning? Naruto inquired. Is it forbidden to say, hello, or, good morning? Suzuka inquired. No, just thought you'd be with the other girls and all. You don't get a break like this all the time, so it's good to spend time with your friends, Naruto replied. I came here to ask if you'd like to go shopping with me? Suzuka replied. I'm sure I got nothing to do other than tease Yamato, but that would put him to tears, so I guess I'm all yours, Naruto replied. Suzuka grinned. Suzuka grinned and walked away, saying, all right, meet me in the front gates after breakfast. Yamato attempted, but failed miserably, to retaliate against Naruto by asking, so how's your relationship with Asahina? Yamato lost confidence when Naruto asked, what was with that weird dance you did in the end? While having breakfast, Suzuka was observed grinning as she ate. The girls around her gave her a lot of perplexed looks. Miki inquired, nay Suzuka-chan, what's got you so happy? Suzuka returned to reality with a blink. Suzuka responded, nothing, just in a good mood. Miki grinned and asked, does this have anything to do with Naruto-kun? No, it's just, fortunately for Suzuka, Kanugusa came to her rescue. Kanugusa said, Suzuka, did you see the blonde Gaki? Naruto-kun? Why? Suzuka questioned, perplexed. Yeah, I was going to talk about his training schedule. He skipped out on 3 days of practice. Maybe if he didn't he wouldn't have fainted, Kanugusa replied. Yeah, but he still made it first, didn't he? And besides, apparently he fainted because of something called a genjutsu, or something. That's what Lan and Ayano-san said that day, Miki responded. Kanugusa questioned, genjutsu? What is that, some kind of disease? Miki replied, not sure, maybe. Then Kanugusa turned to Suzuka. The question Kanugusa posed was, why are you so happy? How does everyone know that? Exclaimed Suzuka. It's just usually you have dark aura around you, but now it's gone, Miki replied. Suzuka returned to her meal and said, whatever. Following breakfast outside the inn, Naruto can be seen. He waited for Suzuka to emerge so they could go shopping for souvenirs. He saw Suzuka coming toward him just as he was ready to call her. Suzuka apologized for being late, saying, Miki wouldn't let me go. Naruto said, it's okay, so where do you want to go? I want to buy some things for my family, and Ayano-san, Miho-chan and Yuka and Megumi-san, Suzuka replied. You don't need to buy those two anything, just give some money to Yuka, and give Megumi a boyfriend that doesn't care about breasts. Naruto replied. Suzuka laughed. So do you care about a girl's breast? What is your type of girl anyway? Suzuka inquired. The question surprised Naruto. What has she done with Asahina-chan, and who is she? Naruto pondered. Technically speaking, I am a boy, so yes, I want a girl with big breasts, but more or less I want a girl who can accept me for me and understand me rather than thinking I'm some kind of monster, sadly replied Naruto. Suzuka questioned. Why would people think of you as a monster? Now Naruto was in a panic. Naruto thought, whoa, I said way too much. Well, you saw how fast I run, people thought I was a monster or something, Naruto replied. But didn't you say there was someone else that was faster then? Is he also considered a monster? Suzuka inquired. Lee and his demonic youth speeches crossed Naruto's mind. Naruto responded, no, but in a way he is. Huh? Whatever. What about you, Asahina-chan? What's your type of boy? Replied Naruto. Suzuka was deep in thought. Well, someone who's strong, Naruto, happy, isn't lazy, happiness goes bye-bye, is responsible and is nice and not perverted, Suzuka responded. Damn, aside from the lazy and pervert parts, I fit all those, Naruto thought. I have a perverted fox sealed in my gut, and I was trained by perverted people. Naruto and Suzuka talked about their future and other topics with one another throughout the day. Naturally, Naruto wanted to go buy some ice cream, but he had no idea where the store was located, in a different town. He wanted ramen because he couldn't get his ice cream, but Suzuka refused and dragged him to a cafe. Naruto didn't seem to care that the cafe was essentially a girls' cafe. He was okay as long as it contained food. Naruto discovered something else as well. He discovered Suzuka's fondness for cake. Blueberry was her favorite. Suzuka was exhausted when they were done, but Naruto was still full of energy. Suzuka questioned, how do you still have energy after this? To Suzuka's surprise, Naruto remarked, oh, I practically have infinite stamina. If I wanted, I can probably run for one whole year non-stop. When she realized they were at the inn, she wanted to ask more questions. Okay, Asahina-chan, this is where we part ways. I'll put the souvenirs in my bag so you don't have to worry, Yane. Naruto exclaimed as he hurried to his room. Suzuka also went out. I am aware that I have fallen in love with him, however, Suzuka pondered. After a week, Naruto and Suzuka spent the entire week together. Although they both denied it and claimed to be close friends, everyone around them believed they were in a romantic relationship. Suzuka was disappointed that Naruto said that most of the time. However, she did hear him confess, so she knew he was lying. Another change was that Yasunobu got a new girlfriend who played track. Miki, Suzuka, and other girls were prepared to murder him. Yamato couldn't stop laughing when Yasunobu approached Naruto. He tripped him to assist the girls. They had at least 3 hours before they had to go to the train station and follow Yamato, so it was time for them to depart. Even with a map, Yamato was unable to locate the supposedly good restaurant. Naruto walked away, saying, I am never going anywhere with you, Yamato, never. Where are you going? Inquired Yamato as he left, complaining that you should never trust a fool with a map. Naruto remarked, there's a cafe that Asahina-chan and I went last week. I'm going to get some cake there for Miho-chan and Ka-san. They have huge sweet teeth. Suzuka and Lan trailed after him. Hinoka and a sobbing Yamato were left alone when Kanubusa, Miyamoto, and Miki went to the inn to pack. After 3 hours, has anyone seen Suzuka-chan and Naruto-kun? Miki sat down in her train seat and asked. I asked Naruto-san if he could buy some drinks for us, Yamato inquired. Hinoka remarked, Suzuka-chan must have followed him. When Miki sensed the train leaving, she said, well, they should hurry, the train is about to. Miki concluded, leave, alongside Suzuka and Naruto. Suzuka exclaimed in shock, we missed the train. Naruto didn't really care because he could jump on the roof and get home in an hour. Suzuka nodded as Naruto said, let's go check when the next trains is coming. The woman behind the desk said, I'm sorry, but that was the last train to Tokyo. Suzuka called Miki, and Naruto called his mother after they left. Naruto said, okay, sorry to have bothered you. They were now sitting in front of a water fountain. Yes, both of us are doing well over the phone, Suzuka stated. The next train doesn't arrive until the morning. Where will you be staying? Miki inquired. Suzuka stated, I'm planning on checking into a hotel. Miki teasingly said, oh, you and Naruto-kun. No, that isn't how it is. Suzuka declared. Yes, it isn't. What is he doing, anyway? Miki remarked. Suzuka turned her head to face Naruto and noticed his bored expression, so she said, he's talking to Ayano-san. Yes, I do comprehend. Yes, I would. but Asahina-chan is with me, so I'm not alone. Yes, I swear that I won't engage in any perverted behavior. I understand. Would you please call them and request that they come get us? Suzuka heard Naruto close his cell phone and say, "Okay. Arigato ka-san." Suzuka closed her phone, not hearing Mickey's final words, and said, "All right Mickey, I'll talk to you later." "So, Asahina-chan, have you made any plans yet?" Naruto inquired. "I was essentially considering booking a hotel room." "Why?" Suzuka declared. "Well, Ka-san promised to call her brother-in-law and drive us to Hiroshima, which is about 2 to 3 hours away, and then leave us in the morning. What are your thoughts? In this manner, I get to know my family better and you avoid having to pay for a hotel," Naruto remarked. "All right, that sounds good, but learn more about your family?" Suzuka inquired. "Yes, I did not visit Hiroshima. I therefore never met Yamato's parents or siblings. Additionally, it appears that Ka-san's sister has been whining about wanting to see me for a while. What could be better than this, then?" Suzuka nodded and joined Naruto in waiting for his step-uncle, who gave him a bone-crushing hug that brought back memories of Guy's embrace with Kakashi. When they got into the car, Yamato's father asked Naruto a lot of questions, to which Naruto replied in a bored manner. When they finally reached Hiroshima, Naruto was reminded of Wave Country. So this is how he felt, internal organs about to explode, Naruto thought. This is similar to a wave, but the aura surrounding it was depressing, Naruto thought. Supper. So, when are we leaving? Naruto inquired. I apologize for not being able to drop you guys off until tomorrow afternoon, Yamato's father said. I have some business to attend to this morning. I see. I apologize, Asahina-chan. Oh, if it's okay with you, I'll have that chicken leg, Naruto said. According to Suzuka, it's okay. All right, Naruto-kun, I would like to know how Yamato is doing. Yamato's mother, who resembled a Yano but had shorter hair, inquired. He's doing great eating his chicken, Naruto remarked. He just got a girlfriend last week. What? The entire Akitsuki family screamed, frightening Naruto and Suzuka. Baka ni is dating someone? The end of the world, Yamato's younger sister shouted. How is he able to have a girlfriend before me? Said Yamato's younger brother. That Baka needs to avoid getting her pregnant, Yamato's father shouted. The fact that Yamato has a girlfriend is unbelievable. That's excellent, Yamato's mother remarked. I don't have to worry about him living with me in the future now. Naruto and Suzuka both thought, I can see why Yamato is an idiot. Naruto was sitting in the backyard watching the full moon after discussing how Yamato had gotten a girlfriend. Odd, don't you think, Kyuubi? Naruto reflected. Every time I look at the moon, I feel calm, especially when it's a full moon. Yeah, odd, Kyuubi said clumsily, and Naruto, suspicious, was about to inquire as to what was wrong when he was cut off. Naruto-kun, how come you're up? Did you not sleep? As Suzuka entered the room, she inquired. Just observing the moon. No, I suppose it always makes me feel better. How about you, Asahina-chan? Did you not sleep? Naruto uttered those words. Suzuka sat next to Naruto and gazed at the moon, saying, I was, but I needed a glass of water. Asahina-chan, would you like to take a stroll? Naruto remarked. I bet you're bored just sitting here. Yes, however, are you familiar with this area? Suzuka inquired. Suzuka nodded and went with Naruto after he said, no, but there's one place I want to check out. A few minutes later, Suzuka kept watching Naruto, hoping he would strike up a conversation to break the awkward feeling, but he kept staring at the moon as if it were calling him. The walk was quiet, and neither of them wanted to talk. Suddenly, Naruto stopped, and Suzuka looked around, realizing that they were on top of a bridge and that the moon was very bright in this area. Naruto remarked, so this is the place, huh? Yamato was dumped after confessing to a girl here apparently. Ka-san also confessed to Miho's father at this point. Suzuka was shocked, but she didn't think it was particularly noteworthy, so she said, I see. It doesn't seem unique. I wonder why confessions are so common up here. As though reading Suzuka's thoughts, Naruto said. Maybe it has a special legend behind it, Suzuka remarked. Naruto looked around and remarked, the only story this place has is the dog that died here last year. Why the sudden interest, Naruto-kun? Suzuka inquired. No, cuz I simply wanted to see Ka-san's childhood home. It seems that she and Miho's father arrived here and was informed that there were a lot of fireflies flying around, Naruto remarked. I just wanted to see, but now ehhh. Suzuka said, oh, with disappointment, and Naruto noticed. What's not right? Do you think he'll confess or something? Naruto remarked in jest. Suzuka softly said absently, yes, Naruto could still hear it. Why? Naruto inquired. Huh? Why did you think I would confess? Naruto inquired. Well, a week prior to the competition, I heard that you had feelings for me. Naruto blushed as Suzuka said, too embarrassed to finish her sentence, so I was just Did she hear me? Naruto wondered. Well, are you fond of me? Naruto inquired. Suzuka began. Yes. Why? Naruto asked, perplexed. Normally, he would be pleased that the girl he liked him, but after everything he had been through, he was constantly on guard. I'm not sure, but I feel secure when I'm with you. Every time we spend time together or when I think of you, my heart races, Suzuka remarked. Perhaps it's just a typical crush or something. Suzuka shook her head from side to side as Naruto said, or admiration. No, I believe I have fallen in love with you. I was more concerned than anything else when you passed out during the tournament and when you were in a coma, Suzuka remarked. Feeling guilty, Naruto chose to do what his father had done for his mother, so he grabbed a flower and sent a little key around the area to get the fireflies to come out. The area looked lovely with the fireflies dancing in the moonlight, and Naruto then sent small chakra waves in the flower, making it glow in a light blue color. He then turned to face Suzuka, and his serious expression didn't surprise her, but it still made her blush and shiver. I've liked you, Asahina Suzuka, ever since we first met. Go out with me, please. When Suzuka accepted the flower and said, yes, Naruto grinned and approached her, kissing her in return. This marked the beginning of their new relationship. Unknown region. Look at that. Ah, the demon fell in love. Unfortunately, we must now kill him, Kisame remarked. Don't undervalue him, regardless of your strength, his new Kekkei Genkai can still kill you, Itachi remarked. Kisame uttered, please, the Gaki can't do anything to me. Suzuka was seen waiting for someone outside the bathhouse apartment, smiling and appearing to be deep in thought. What are you doing, Suzuka? Yuka snapped Suzuka back to reality by saying, you're going to be late for school. Huh? Oh, I was just. Naruto came down the stairs and saved Suzuka. Let's go, Asahina-chan. Datbeo. After saying something that made Suzuka laugh, Naruto took her hand and turned to leave Yuka and Megumi both staring at him. Both Naruto and Suzuka talked about random topics on the way, like how Miho nearly killed Naruto when he gave them the cake he bought, and Suzuka talked about the phone calls from Miki. When they got to class, everyone was staring at Naruto and Suzuka was used to people staring at her, but for some reason this was different, and she finally understood why her boyfriend didn't like to be the center of attention. Naruto was glaring at everyone, and everyone went to Lan and Mail, who were grinning at each other. So you got a girlfriend at last, huh? Lan grinned. Yes, exactly. Do you have an issue? Naruto fired back. Naruto regretted telling Lan, who had stolen his first kiss, when Lan said, no, just thought you were into guys more than girls. Suzuka simply giggled as she recalled Naruto's embarrassing past. You're a jerk. As he placed Lan in a headlock, Naruto screamed. The teacher came in and said, Fujikawa let go of Hikari. The teacher began class when Naruto let go, and for the first time, he was actually paying attention. Hi, Naruto said, still glaring at the laughing Lan. Odd, Naruto thought. What is it? Kyuubi inquired. As he kept taking notes in his notebook, Naruto remarked to Kyuubi, the fact that I'm actually paying attention in class. With a shocked expression, Kyuubi declared, a bad omen is going to happen. You're a sigh. Naruto shouted, then realized he had actually said it aloud. Naruto sank in his seat when the teacher said, Fujikawa detention. Lunch. Why did you yell in class today? Yamato sat down on the cafeteria bench and asked. Naruto, who was depressed because he couldn't walk home with his girlfriend, said, just thinking. Perhaps that was the bad omen Kyuubi was referring to, Naruto pondered. How far along are you with Suzuka-chan, Naruto-kun? As she caught the attention of Yamato, Hinoka, and Yasunobu, Mail inquired. What are you saying? Yamato inquired. Oh, none of you know, Mail stated, Naruto-kun and Suzuka-chan are currently dating. What? Yamato, Hinoka, and Yasunobu shouted. Why is everyone so taken aback? Naruto uttered those words. Simply put, Asahina and you are total opposites. She is meticulous and serious. You're lazy, Naruto-san, while you're doing well, Yamato remarked. Naruto said, next Yuka bothers, don't come crying to me. Yamato's eyes widened. No. Please. I wasn't serious. Everyone chuckled as Yamato screamed while holding onto Naruto's leg. What happened to Suzuka-chan? Hinoka inquired. She is working on her high jumps. I should probably go tell her to take a break. Naruto uttered those words. She refuses to take a break, which is irrelevant. I've made numerous attempts, Miki remarked. Yeah, but I'm her boyfriend, she'll probably listen to me, Naruto replied. Someone said, maybe. When they turned to see Suzuka carrying a tray of food, everyone except Naruto was in disbelief. Naruto made room for Suzuka to sit next to him, and she thanked him before speaking. The previous period Naruto was so happy that everyone who looked at him saw sparkles around him, but his happiness also served as a distraction for Kyuubi and himself. It was the last class of the day, and he wanted to leave but remembered he had detention. He was sad, but he also remembered that Suzuka had to do track and field, so he still had the chance to walk home with her. The teacher was about to ask Naruto why he was happy when she heard a knock from the front. When she went to open the door, Kisame Hoshigaki was there, and Naruto and Lan's eyes widened in shock. Kisame remarked, "Yo, Kyuubi, been a long time." Fish face. Thought Naruto. With the exception of Naruto, Lan, and Suzuka, who were observing Naruto's irate face, the entire class was laughing at Kisame. Suzuka thought, he said Kyuubi, didn't Naruto-kun say that once? Are you some sort of super otaku? Ha ha ha, one of the pupils shouted. Yes. Everyone joined, with the exception of the class's otaku, who had only one idea. That cosplay is amazing, it's so realistic, face sharking. Everyone laughed more when Naruto yelled. Yo Kyuubi, you seem to have changed over the last 2 years, demon. Kisame smiled. You know this geek, Fujikawa? One of the pupils inquired, but Naruto continued to snarl and ignored him. As he began to construct a Malchi's door lance, Naruto remarked, hey, it doesn't matter, I'll deal with you like how I dealt with Itachi. Kisame vanished and then reappeared behind Suzuka, saying, hey, no you won't. Suzuka's eyes widened as Kisame pulled out Samahata and placed it on her neck, saying, not unless I have your girlfriend here as my hostage. Fish face. Naruto shouted, dude, stop acting like this. I'm going to die of. However, the student halted when he witnessed Lan drawing a sword and putting it to Kisame's throat. Everyone in the room, especially male, looked shocked as Lan threatened to, let her go or it'll be your head that's rolling on the ground. Gaki, said Kisame. Kisame wondered, when did he get so close? As he stood in front of Kisame in Suzuka's place, Naruto remarked, good job Lan. Rasengan. As he pushed the blue orb into Kisame's stomach, sending him flying out the window, Naruto screamed, shattering every glass and sparing everyone. Kisame was followed by Naruto and Lan. Naruto-kun! Suzuka exclaimed, looking shocked. Using the ninjas, they were farther out from the city, in an open field. Lan, be careful, fish face and Itachi are partners, Naruto cautioned, therefore, Itachi could arrive from anywhere. Lan swung his katana into a stance and said, right. Do you really believe that you can defeat me in Kenjutsu Gaki? One of the 7 fabled swordsmen is me. I'm the best at it, said Kisame. Lan used a chakra burst to move in front of Kisame and attempt to slash him, but Kisame blocked, saying, we'll see. Naruto was searching for Itachi's chakra during the battle between the 2 swordsmen, but he was unsuccessful. Naruto shouted in his head, damn, where is he? Kyuubi said, Kit, use my chakra and look for him. Naruto nodded. Naruto was searching for Itachi's chakra when he had to dodge a jutsu. Kisame had aimed at him. His hair was wilder than before, his canines were longer, and his nails took on the appearance of claws. Naruto's whisker marks also became more distinct. Kisame smiled and said, you're going to have to fight me before you can fight Itachi. Naruto bit his lower lip, causing it to bleed. Get out of the way, Lan, Naruto shouted, and Lan nodded. Kisame was in front of Naruto and knew what was about to happen. Your Kekkei Genkai will not be successful, Naruto muttered a curse as Kisame said, your Kekkei Genkai is useless as long as I stay close to you and don't give you the concentration you need. Naruto dodged and attempted to focus, but Kisame trailed behind him. I believe I will fulfill the commitment I made 2 years ago. Kisame swung his legendary sword at Naruto's legs, saying, the one where I would cut your legs so you don't escape. However, Lan intervened and blocked the blow. Naruto, I'll divert his attention while you focus, Lan said, and Naruto nodded and followed through. As he was diverting Kisame's attention, he saw that the shark man was too at ease, but he ignored that when he saw Naruto standing next to a black sphere. Naruto said, all right, Lan, get out of the area. Lan nodded, leapt into the tree behind Naruto, and sucked his chakra to avoid being the target of Malchi's door once more. As he closed his hand, causing the sphere to explode and a massive needle-like shape to emerge and move in Kisame's direction, Naruto uttered the dark words, goodbye fish face. Naruto remarked, Malchi's spike. The teens were further perplexed when Kisame simply stood there and smiled, confusing both Naruto and Lan. That is, until Malchi's door abruptly changed course, confusing Kisame even more. What took place? Naruto remarked, it was meant to aim at you. Hey, looks like I found a major flaw in your Kekkei Genkai Gaki, Kisame laughed. What? Were Kyuubi, Lan, and Naruto's thoughts. This Kekkei Genkai should be flawless. I made it, Kyuubi roared in his mind. What are you discussing? After only seeing my Kekkei Genkai once, you couldn't have devised a way to stop it, Naruto remarked. Hey, the major flaw in your technique is that it follows those with large reserves of chakra within the area, said Kisame. So, isn't that a benefit? Naruto concurred with Lan's statement, your opponent cannot attack you unless you can completely conceal your chakra. When Kisame asked, Gaki, did you forget about my sword Samahada? Naruto looked perplexed, then recalled the last time he and Kisame had met at the hotel, when he felt the Kyuubi's chakra vanish as he swung his sword. Naruto then turned to face the direction of his attack. Your chakra was absorbed by your sword. What's that in your hand, though? Naruto inquired. Hey, nothing more than a genjutsu created thanks to Samahada, Kisame replied. It makes no difference, Naruto remarked, your blade is no longer useful. Again, incorrect, Kyuubi, I have a living sword. As long as there is chakra, it can simply regenerate, Kisame remarked, briefly vanishing before reappearing in the same spot. The only distinction was that he was holding Samahada. When Kisame showed Naruto Samahada regenerating the hole in the middle of the sword twitched, almost growling, and both Naruto and Lan were shocked. See, Kisame said. Kisame said, looks like it's my turn. He was about to strike when someone stopped him. Itachi said without emotion, Kisame. Itachi. Kisame snarled, get out of my way. Kisame snarled and lowered his sword, which was also growling, as Itachi uttered the same tone. Leader Sama called, we are to go back to hideout. All right, Kisame said, let's go, and turned to leave. Hey, mate. Where do you think you're heading? The battle is far from over, Naruto shouted. We're returning to the hideout of Akatsuki. Think of yourself as fortunate, Kyuubi, Kisame remarked. No, you're not. Today is the day that you jerks will perish, Naruto shouted. If we didn't have to leave today, it would be you, Uzumaki. Naruto, I must say that your Kekkei Genkai has impressed me, but you can't handle the two of us by yourself, Itachi remarked. Look at your companion beside him. He is tired. Naruto glanced at Lan and realized that Itachi was correct. Itachi said, besides, I believe you have a girl to comfort, do you not? Naruto's eyes widened as he thought of Suzuka. As he and Kisame vanished, Itachi said, next time we meet you better be strong, Naruto yelled, glaring at the ground. Damn it. At home, after dropping Lan off at his house, Naruto made his way home by jumping from roof to roof until he arrived at the bathhouse, where he went straight to his room because he was so depressed that he was weak. Kyuubi had remained silent and was mostly growling, and when he opened the door, he saw an enraged Suzuka. Naruto exclaimed in shock, Asahina. Suzuka saw that he had omitted the Chan. What happened today, Naruto? Suzuka inquired. Naruto sighed, realizing that his disguise had been exposed. All people should come to the dining room, Naruto remarked, I'd prefer not to repeat myself. Ayano was the only one who knew what was going on, and after a few minutes, Naruto entered, looked around, sighed, and sat down. Yamato and Suzuka were both restless, curious about what had happened at the school, while Miho, Yuka, and Megumi were perplexed as to why they had been called. All right, I guess it's time I told you who, or rather what I really am. Naruto said as he began telling his story from the time he was born, when Kyuubi attacked and his birth parents sealed half of it into his body. He told them about him being kicked out of the orphanage at the age of 4 and how he lived on the streets for a year before the Hokage gave him an apartment. He also explained what a Hokage was. He explained how he never had any friends because people thought he was the Kyuubi. He also explained the concept about the kunai sealed in a scroll. He explained his graduation from Ninja Academy, about how the teachers tried to fail him while Iruka did everything he could to help him. The betrayal of Mizuki, his rivalry with Sasuke Uchiha the emo bastard. About Team 7, he even showed them the old photo he had when Team 7 was formed. His mission to Wave, Snow, Spring Country and the Moon Kingdom. The Chunin exam when Orochimaru attacked him and marked Sasuke. The battle between him and Kiba and how he won with a fart which made them laugh a little. The blood vow he made to Hinata that he would beat Neji. The training with his godfather, the perverted book author. Then the battle with Neji and how he won thanks to Kyuubi's chakra. He mentally thanked Kyubi for that, which made Kyubi blush, but he growled and told him to leave him alone. The death of his surrogate grandfather, Tsunade retrieval mission and Sasuke retrieval mission, and his banishment, then told them how Yano found him 2 years ago and adopted him and how he was training Lan. He also talked about what little he knew about Akatsuki. He also explained the concept of ninjutsu, genjutsu and taijutsu. He also explained what a keke genkei is. Yuka turned to face Naruto after he had completed recounting his entire life story. "You've got to be really inebriated," Yuka said. "You expect us to believe you were a ninja in a village that doesn't even exist?" Yamato and Miho nodded, while Megumi and Suzuka remained silent the entire time. Suzuka because she was trying to take in everything her boyfriend had said, and Megumi because she was afraid that what Naruto had said was true and could kill them. Suzuka thought, "This explains how he's so fast. He's stronger and faster than everyone. He also has a demon sealed inside of him, so that's why his eyes changed." It was the demon's eyes, not his. Naruto gave her a dejected look. Naruto grinned sadly and said, "Look, if you don't want to see me again, I'll understand, Asahina." Suzuka noticed again that he hadn't used the Chan suffix in her name, which she missed. Suzuka got up and quietly left the room. Naruto expected her to do that, but it still hurt. Yuka, Miho, and Yamato were arguing with Naruto that it was all a lie until Naruto used a cage bunshin to silence them. After Naruto went for a walk to ease his broken heart, Ayano then left the room. In the evening, Suzuka was lying on her bed, staring at the photo of herself and Suda. If she had a picture of Naruto, she would be staring at that instead, but she doesn't apparently. Naruto's ninja habits kick in when a picture is being taken, and he just blurs out of the camera's view later. She put the picture down and began thinking about Naruto. Suzuka considered her father, mother, and older sister and thought, Naruto-kun had a hard life. The shark who attacked me belonged to a group called Akatsuki. They're a group that seeks out Jinchurikis like me in order to unlock the inner demon, and they're all very powerful, Naruto remarked. What's the point in giving it to them? Wouldn't you want to get rid of this so-called demon if it destroyed your life? Yuka exclaimed. Naruto declared, if I did that I would be dead. Nini, what do you mean? Miho inquired. Since my birth, the Kyuubi's chakra has been a part of my body. I use some of his chakra without realizing it because my body has adapted to it. Thus, removing Kyuubi would imply that they were draining me of a significant amount of energy, and I would perish, Naruto remarked. Naruto-kun's death is a possibility as she recalled the sword Kisame had placed on her throat. Suzuka said, I won't be able to take it if someone I love dies again. She was terrified, but she was startled out of her reverie when she heard a knock on her door. She got up and opened it to find an irate but worried Ayano standing there. Ayano said, Suzuka-chan, we need to talk, alongside Naruto. For his part, Naruto was strolling through the streets in an attempt to put his broken heart behind him. He had run into someone, but they felt sorry for him. Naruto grinned sadly and said aloud, I thought I had finally found someone that would love me no matter what. Kit, I understand that this isn't the right moment, but we must figure out how to murder those jerks. They probably told all of their friends about the Malchi's door weakness, Kyuubi remarked. Naruto questioned, how is it that there is such a significant weakness? I mean, didn't you create it so that it could kill Sharingan users? Yes, but a major weakness like that will exist in something like Malchi's door. It's among the greatest Keke Genkei ever. You were constantly training with Lan or your clones, which is why we had never discovered it before, Kyuubi remarked. We never had a full fight with it. People began to panic as Naruto passed out in the middle of the sidewalk, saying, Yeah, I should Aya, L. Pra, see. With Ayano and Suzuka? Ayano-san? Suzuka inquired. We must speak. Suzuka, may I enter? Suzuka nodded when Ayano asked, and she closed the door when she entered. She wasn't sure what Ayano wanted to discuss, but she knew it had to do with Naruto. Please refrain from detesting Naruto-kun. It's not a monster. Naruto-kun, he is merely the kunai's holding scroll, Anayo remarked. You can't kill people with a scroll. Suzuka was taken aback that Ayano had even considered that. It isn't that I despise him, I'm just afraid, Suzuka uttered. Of Kyuubi? There is no reason to be alarmed despite being a 50-foot fox. Kyuubi is pleasant, Ayano remarked. Suzuka stated, that's not the reason I'm scared. So why? Ayano inquired. I'm afraid Naruto-kun will pass away. Suzuka looked down and said, I won't be able to take it if another person I love dies. Ayano was taken aback but understood Suzuka's point of view, so she simply put on a reassuring smile and walked over to give her a hug. I recognize the struggles you're facing. I was astounded to hear his story for the first time. My initial thought was not that Kyuubi was attempting to seize control or escape as he embraced Suzuka, Ayano remarked, it was his safety. I understand, Suzuka remarked. Naruto is fortunate to have a mother like you. There are moments when I wish I were his biological mother. He wouldn't have had to endure such agony. His birth mother did everything in her power to save him, so I can't hold it against her. His father is the same. Suzuka laughed as Ayano remarked, but I feel like punching Naruto's father for believing that the village would view Naruto as a hero. Ayano advised, you should go and find Naruto-kun. He believes that when you left the room, you abandoned him. The true reason you left without saying anything should be revealed to him. I doubt he'll comprehend. Though Ayano released Suzuka and got to her feet, saying, he puts others before himself and that kills me as his mother. Suzuka nodded and started to say something, but Miho slammed the door. Ka-san. Miho shouted. What is Miho-chan? Ayano inquired. He's at the hospital. Ni, Miho shouted. Alongside Naruto. When Naruto first opened his eyes, he had no idea where he was until he discovered that he was once more in the hospital. Naruto remarked, I should probably move here. No way, it's too light in here. Naruto remarked, I'm more of a dark-colored demon. Naruto told Kyuubi, says the fox that's obsessed with the color red. You have an obsession with orange, yelled Kyuubi. Naruto was startled out of his reverie when a nurse said, Fujikawa-san, you have visitors. He turned to see his mother, Miho, and Suzuka at the door. Naruto became confused by Suzuka's presence but was bracing himself in case she called him a monster or a demon. Concerned, Ayano questioned, Sochi, what happened? Naruto merely gave a small laugh. Looks like my fight with Sharkface caught up with me, said Naruto. Ni, Miho said anxiously. Don't worry Miho-chan, I'm fine, just a little tired, Naruto replied. To get Naruto's attention, Suzuka said, Naruto-kun. They gazed into each other's eyes as Naruto turned to face her. When Ayano noticed this, she led Miho to the door. As she and Miho departed, Ayano remarked, all right, we'll leave you two alone. There was only silence when they were by themselves. Naruto made the decision to smash it. Naruto looked away and remarked, if you're going to call me a demon, go ahead, I'm used to it. To Naruto's surprise, Suzuka said, I don't think you're a demon. Wha? Suzuka remarked, moreover it made me love you more? Huh? But you left and the look on your eyes at that time. That time I was just processing all the information. When I thought about it more, I was more worried about you. I didn't care about Kyuubi, and besides, if you were a demon then you wouldn't have saved me. Suzuka recalled the incident. Naruto said, okay. Not accustomed to this, Naruto questioned, but wait, what do you mean worried about me? Kyuubi palmed his face. Well, you're a ninja, and from all the stories you told me, a ninja's lifestyle could get them killed. I just didn't want to lose another person I love. I won't be able to take it if you died. Suzuka wept. It surprised Naruto that someone was interested in him. The fact that Suzuka was crying in front of him, however, startled him the most. Naruto took her hand and pulled her onto his chest because he could not bear the scene. Naruto tried to reassure Suzuka by saying, it's okay, don't cry. Naruto chose to speak after Suzuka stopped sobbing. I can't promise anything, Asahina-chan, that nothing will happen to me, and I haven't been able to keep promises so far, but I will make you a promise that nothing will happen to me and I never go back on my promise, said Naruto. Suzuka grinned. Suzuka smiled. Okay, I'll hold you to that. And besides, Kyuubi said that he won't let me die until I ravage you, said Naruto. Damn straight, exclaimed Kyuubi with her hands covering her chest. Suzuka uttered the words, you're right, he is a pervert. Naruto chuckled. Suzuka questioned, so what are you going to do now? I need to start training and control my Kekkei Genkai, so I'll be gone for a while, Naruto replied. Suzuka said, take me with you. Naruto asked, what? Suzuka said, take me with you, I want you to train me. Naruto was taken aback. Naruto questioned, why? Well, one part me wants to jump higher, and with your ninja training I can do that easily, but mostly because I don't want to be in that position I was in today again. Suzuka replied. Naruto looked guilty. Suzuka said, so please train me. According to Kyuubi, kid, train her. What? Why? I wish for her to lead a typical life. Kyuubi was screamed at by Naruto. She's not going to have a normal life anymore because of you, and besides, you won't always be able to protect her. She needs to defend herself if something like this happens again, Kyuubi responded. It doesn't matter, Naruto declared, I'll kill every Akatsuki member that shows up. Gaki. Don't be a fool. If Akatsuki was able to find you, then Konoha can too. You may be able to kill all the Akatsuki members, but you won't be able to kill those Konoha bastards ever. You still think of them as friends. They will use that and kill Asahina. Do you want that? Kyuubi yelled. Naruto didn't say anything. Naruto-kun? Inquired Suzuka. Suzuka was dejected when Naruto said, okay, I'll help you, but I won't be able to help you with chakra. You're already too old to unlock it. Kyuubi said, "Don't worry, Kit, I can easily fix that." "Cross that, looks like I have to come up with a schedule for you," Naruto replied. Suzuka was perplexed. Naruto then gave an explanation. Ayano was grinning as she watched them outside the door. The following day, Naruto and Suzuka were seen holding hands as they made their way to school in the morning. Suzuka and Naruto were discussing her training schedule and the necessity of taking at least 3 weeks off from school. Suzuka concurred. They found the school encircled by police when they got there. After that, they noticed their teacher pointing at Naruto. Naruto was perspiring as the officer approaching him glared at him. Naruto exclaimed, "Oh crap." Suzuka looked at Naruto strangely. The officer said, well, Fujikawa heard you blew up the school walls." Naruto remarked, "Officer Grumman, good to see you too. So mind explaining what happened? And where did this shark otaku go?" replied Grumman. Naruto laughed nervously and said, "Ha ha ha, don't worry Oji-san, it was just a prank, nothing more." Grumman said, "Isn't a little too early for Halloween?" "That's what I said to my friend, but he got the dates mixed up, sorry," Naruto replied. Grumman said, "Okay, then explain the hole in the walls." "Like I said, it was a prank. There was already a hole in the wall. I just covered it from both sides to make it look like there was nothing, and there was a cushion underneath it so jumping out would be safe," Naruto replied. When the principal heard this, he reasoned that only a fool would believe that. "Alright, Ed, going Fujikawa, your new room is at 3E, said Grumman. "What?" exclaimed the principal. "What?" inquired Grumman. The principal glared at Naruto and screamed, "Why would you believe that? It's obviously a lie. There is no way that was a prank. You have no idea what this kid could do. He's like a fox. Besides, compared to what happened to the police department 2 years, this is nothing," said Grumman. Suzuka inquired, "What happened?" "This Gaki here snuck past all cameras, changed all the male uniform to females and dyed them pink. He changed the girl's uniform to more revealing like mini skirt and whatnot and then painted the whole department orange with foxes all over it," Grumman said with a grin on his face. Naruto remarked, "One of my best work ever." The principal screamed, "Then why didn't you arrest him?" "Well, for one thing, he was underage to go to jail and there was no proof that he did it. Like this one, everyone could be just lying to save their asses," Grumman continued and then glanced at Suzuka. Grumman remarked, "Watch girly, was it Naruto that did that?" Suzuka was anxious because she had never lied before. Well, she had, but it was obvious to others. However, she recalled Naruto's words. The first rule of being a shinobi or kunoichi is that the secret to success is deception. No, Grumman was taken aback when Suzuka defended her boyfriend by saying, "Naruto-kun was just there." "Well, this is a first, someone defending you, Gaki," Grumman replied. Naruto grinned and replied, "Yeah, it doesn't matter. You will be dismissed," the headmaster shouted. "That is not possible. You don't have any evidence that it was me. The judge will not believe that a man dressed as a shark entered and attacked the students, even if you claim that the students saw me." Grumman nodded, and Naruto remarked, "The judge will only assume that it was an early Halloween prank." According to Grumman, besides, you need actual visual proof. "Anyway, I'll see you, Gaki, be careful. Additionally, you have a lovely girlfriend," Grumman remarked. "How are you aware that she is my girlfriend?" Naruto remarked, "I didn't even say anything." "Her scent is all over you as you hold her hands. Don't assume I didn't notice every little detail before becoming a detective," Grumman remarked. "Well, whatever, see you." Grumman waved as he drove off, and Naruto waved. "Damn you. Gaki believes he can keep his secrets hidden." When Grumman looked at Naruto at his side mirrors, he grinned fatherly and said, "If it's the last thing I do, I will find out everything, Gaki. I wish I could have such an intriguing child with his abilities. The Gaki has the potential to become the world's greatest law enforcement officer." Grumman looked up at the sky and said, "Damn, Ayano adopted him before me. Minato, you have a wonderful son." Grumman grinned, "You'd be proud." Naruto's perspective. I had to laugh when I saw the principal, who appeared to be on the verge of exploding, after Officer Grumman had left. "How do you know Anyo, Naruto-kun?" I was taken aback when Suzuka asked me how I knew a detective, especially when that detective was Grumman. I simply grinned. Well, as he mentioned, I played a practical joke on the police force. However, this occurred 2 months after my arrival in Tokyo. I thought their building looked gloomy at the time, and I had no idea how important the police were. I therefore chose to make it a little lighter. It turns out that my action was foolish since Kasan told Officer Grumman that I was from a place without police, which was partially true. I didn't get into too much trouble, I remarked as I was making my way to class. "Half true." Suzuka followed me and asked, "Yes, Konoha had a police force, but it was under the control of the Uchiha clan. Additionally, only Uchiha members were permitted to join. However, Gigi shut down the police department following the massacre, claiming that all he needed were chunins to carry out their duties. I understand, however. How did you learn about videocams and be able to die from them if this was 2 months after you arrived in Tokyo? Suzuka inquired. I stated, I didn't hide from them. What? Suzuka asked, perplexed. I was the one who escaped the building and managed to get past all of the security. Suzuka looked in awe as I said. Apparently the person I disguised as was a high-ranked officer. They didn't do any security check. Asahina-chan, don't worry. Suzuka nodded as I said, you're going to be able to do that once we finish your training. Everyone looked at Suzuka and me when we arrived at our new class. Well, more specifically, at me. What? Everyone was staring at me, irritated, when I asked. What on earth was going on yesterday? Everyone nodded in agreement as one of the boys yelled. That was a prank. I sighed. I gave the same justification to the principal and Detective Grumman, saying, my friend came at the wrong time because he forgot Halloween isn't for another 2 weeks. Do you really think we'll believe that? The boy shouted. Yes. What would you say about the hole in the wall? Another inquired. The flurry of inquiries was starting to annoy me. Enough. Everyone, including myself, was taken aback when Suzuka yelled. It was merely a mishandled practical joke. Suzuka said, let's just leave it at that. Yes, but Lan-san and Suzuka-chan brought swords to school. A girl asked shyly, and the hole in the wall, the shark guy, and that blue sphere in Fujikawa-san's hand. Everything was a prop. When others were about to respond, I cut them off. Naruto's friend wanted to look like a real shark and that was the result, Suzuka said, and I nodded. Yes. I almost forgot. We should go speak with the captain about the training trip, Asahina-chan, I said, and Suzuka nodded. Let's speak with him after class, she said. I smiled and said, all right, as we made our way to our desks. Class was dull, and all I could think about was how I was going to balance training Asahina with my Kekkei Genkai training. After the teacher arrived and inquired about the incident yesterday in the middle of class, Lan and Mail came and apologized to the teacher for being late. He gave them a doctor's note, which was obviously a fake, and sat down at their desks. After class ended and lunchtime arrived, I headed over to Asahina. All set to go. Suzuka nodded when I asked Suzuka POV. I was about to stand up and approach Naruto, but he approached me instead. All set to go? He asked, and I just nodded before getting up and trailing behind him. I glanced at him. I thought, stupid Akatsuki can't believe that they found him. He was just about to have a normal life. We were searching for Kinagasa-senpai, who was bench pressing, when we eventually arrived at the track and field. I need to speak with you about something, Gorilla-senpai. Asahina-chan, Naruto shouted. After setting the weight down, Kinagasa-senpai turned to face Naruto. What do you want, Foxboy? Kinagasa inquired, and I laughed at the monikers they use for one another. I won't be here for 3 weeks with Suzuki. I have to go because of some family matters and Suzuka desired to accompany them. Naruto lied. What? You too? I was perplexed by Kinagasa's yell. US too? I inquired. Yeah, Lan asked me for the same thing in the morning. I assume that your mother or grandfather is in the hospital, Kinagasa remarked. No, I would like to visit my birth mother, who is in a hospital in Kyoto. I would like to know why she left me when I was a baby in order to prevent me from doing anything crazy. Suzuka is accompanying me, Naruto remarked. Your real mother? Then, Kinagasa remarked, Ayano Fujikawa is. My mother, who I adopted. I was adopted by her 2 years ago, Naruto remarked. All right, you guys are free to leave. We both nodded and departed after Kinagasa said, but when you guys return, I'm making the training hell for you. In the corridor. So, what will you teach me? I inquired. Your chakra will first be unlocked by the fox. The results are what matter, even though it will hurt at first. Following that, you will perform chakra control exercises such as kunai balancing, leaf balancing, tree walking, and water walking. I nodded as Naruto spoke in an authoritative tone. Then we'll start with the 3 basic jutsus. I grinned and said, okay, sounds fun. Yes, it will be. I was frightened when Naruto said, hee. Standard POV. After school, Naruto and Suzuka are seen making their way home after school. Suzuka didn't want to talk because she thought Naruto was talking to Kyuubi based on his excessive concentration, but she did move him every time he walked down the street and nearly got hit by a car. Naruto, on the other hand, was talking to Kyuubi about his Kekkei Genkai. Naruto said something to Suzuka before heading straight to his room when they arrived at the bathhouse. You'd better have fun today because today is your last day of fun before you torture yourself with training. Naruto corrected himself and retired to his room. Suzuka shook her head, wondering if he would say, torture. Suzuka thought, no way, right? And proceeded to change and take a relaxing bath. Around the dinner table, with the exception of Naruto and Ayano, everyone was present. Where are the headmaster and ninja boy? Yuka inquired. Suzuka remarked, Naruto is probably still in his room. Miho remarked, Ka-san must be in her room as well. At that moment, Ayano and Naruto entered. Alright, this Suzuka-chan, you better enjoy what you're eating today since you won't be eating these things for 3 weeks, Ayano replied. Ka-san. What do you mean? Miho inquired. Oh, Suzuka-chan is going to train to be a ninja, Ayano replied. All but Suzuka, Naruto, and Ayano were taken aback by this. What? Everyone shouted. Suzuka went on to discuss her motivation for seeking ninja training. Following dinner, Yamato was with Naruto and Suzuka as they headed to their room, but he hurried to his own room to give the couple some privacy. Suzuka was taken aback when Naruto said, Asahina, I'm really sorry you had to be dragged into this. Suzuka said, you don't need to be. Yes, I do. You would have led a typical life if I hadn't been here. Rather, I forced you into an inevitable conflict, Naruto remarked. I don't regret giving up my regular life. To start with, I would probably still be fixated on Suda-senpai's passing if I hadn't met you. In addition, nothing is more helpful to me than this ninja training. I ought to be the one to apologize, Suzuka remarked. You probably wouldn't even be in this mess if I hadn't been taken hostage. But it was my fault. Naruto was interrupted by Suzuka, who gave him a quick kiss on the lips that made them feel as though time had stopped. Enough with the excuses, Suzuka remarked. You had better train me to at least Junin level. Naruto smiled and said, oh, with my training you'll be Kage level. Oh, one more thing. Please remember to add the suffix, chan. To my name. It's strange also, address me by my first name, Suzuka remarked. I mean, we're going out. Naruto said clumsily, I'll try Asa, Suzuka glaring, Suzuka-chan. Good, Suzuka said before vanishing into her room, leaving Naruto blushing. Unbeknownst to Naruto, Suzuka was also blushing. We just kissed, was what they both thought. Good morning. It shows Naruto and Suzuka standing in a clear section of a forest. Suzuka remarked, this is about 10 hours away from Tokyo by train. Naruto remarked, the best thing about being a ninja. They waited there for Lan, who arrived with mail 10 minutes later. Why is mail here, Lan? Naruto inquired. She told me she wanted to be ninja as well after I told her about you and Akatsuki and Konoha, Lan replied. I'm really sorry, Naruto-kun, that happened in your life, Mail replied. It's not like you were at fault, so don't worry, Mail-chan. Furthermore, I wouldn't have met you, Lan, and Suzuka in particular if it weren't for the fox hell. She would most likely be seeing Yamato if I weren't here, Naruto chuckled. Don't even make light of that. Yamato is just a careless youngster, I wouldn't date him at all, Suzuka shouted. Ha 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 ha, that's probably true and I can see that happening, Lan replied. Hey, Suzuka shouted, and you and Mail wouldn't be together either until probably graduating college, said Naruto. That is untrue. Lan and Mail exchanged glances as they each said, true. What? You wouldn't have had the courage to ask me out after graduating from college, Lan-kun. Mail sulked as everyone laughed. If it weren't for Naruto-kun, we would still be friends and you would probably be on your computer all day. All right, enough teasing. Get ready. Suzuka-chan and Mail-chan, this is going to hurt, Naruto remarked, placing his left hand on Mail and his right on Suzuka. Naruto said, Kyuubi, do your thing. With pleasure, Kyuubi exclaimed. Flashing a fox-like smile, he infused them with a portion of his chakra. Suzuka and Mail were on the ground, clutching their stomachs and screaming in pain. As they waited for the transition to end, Lan and Naruto watched and engaged in small talk. Suzuka and Mail sat up after they stopped rolling around on the ground in agony. Mail exclaimed, that hurt like hell. I never said it was going to be pleasant, Lan responded. Mail would make a reappearance. Alright, Lan will teach you guys how to control your chakra and do the chakra exercises and taijutsu training once you guys are ready for ninjutsu and genjutsu. I will train you, Naruto replied. Suzuka questioned, why can't you train us as well? Because he has to train with his Kekkei Genkai, Lan replied. Then can't you create a clone to train us or train with your Kekkei Genkai? Suzuka inquired. No, my Kekkei Genkai needs a lot of concentration, and if I make a clone and practice with my Malchi's door, then clone will be out of my control and will have a mind of its own and I can't recall them, Naruto replied. Lan shivered and said, and trust you don't want that even though it was good for training. Naruto replied, yeah, I still have kick in here for revenge. Mail and Suzuka both exclaimed, huh? Lan didn't finish, but Naruto shivered and Suzuka and Male went pale. You see, even if they have a mind of their own, when they get destroyed, the original which is Naruto still feels what the clone experienced, and while trying to puff them out I kind of kicked him in the... Alright, anyway, get ready. Lan, create a clone to practice your katas and switch with the clone to get experience. Alright. Naruto replied with a nod. Alright now, exclaimed Male, Suzuka, Lan, and Naruto. After 3 weeks, Naruto's training in torture was over. Both Male and Suzuka were Chunin level. Male could transform a basic C rank jutsu into a high B rank because she had flawless chakra control. She demonstrated this by transforming Kaden Dragon Fire Jutsu into Kaden Great Dragon Fire Jutsu that caught everyone off guard. In case you were unaware, her element chakra is fire. Suzuka, on the other hand, lacked perfect chakra control, but Kyuubi surmised that it might have been because she used chakra unconsciously when playing sports as a child. However, Suzuka was perhaps more adept at wind techniques than Naruto. Lan's taijutsu and kenjutsu had significantly improved. He is roughly classified as high junin and low junin, respectively. Lan would be prepared for Anbu if he had more experience regarding Lan's genjutsu and ninjutsu. They were both mid-chunin. He was too focused on incorporating elemental chakra into his swordplay. Wind and water were his elements. Not to be overlooked is Naruto. His Kekkei Genkai was much better now. Although he was able to create new forms for various circumstances, the headaches persisted and even got worse. However, Naruto used his Kekkei Genkai to create a new jutsu that increases his physical exhaustion rather than giving him headaches. The method is known as the banishing shift. To use it, Naruto must place some of his Kekkei Genkai in his palm or other object and use chakra to swing it at an attack. No matter how big the attack is, it disappears when he swings it. However, it puts a lot of strain on Naruto's body. Additionally, he picked up a method his father developed in his genin days. His father used a method he called invisible walks, which is presumably the origin of the Hiraishin. However, Naruto dubbed it the vanishing drive, because the name sounded foolish. This is due to the fact that when he moves his legs, he vanishes from his enemy's line of sight. Think of Kuroko's vanishing drive. However, the effects are identical to those of the banishing shift, as Naruto was worn out after only 4 uses of each technique for 3 days. Suzuka, Naruto, Lan, and Male are now seen making their way back to Ayano's bathhouse. Suzuka and Male were relieved to be finished and able to return to civilization at last, and Lan and Naruto griping about their lack of training. Male remarked, "Ah, I'm so glad that was over." Suzuka glared at Naruto as she said, "Ditto, now I can finally take a proper bath and not have perverts looking at me." Naruto turned his head away. "It's not my fault. You have a fantastic body," Naruto thought to himself. "Damn straight," exclaimed Kyuubi. Lan said somberly, "I'm not happy." Naruto questioned, "What's wrong with you?" "I left a shadow clone at home to do my homework and study. Now 3 weeks worth of knowledge is going to kill me," Lan replied. Naruto said, somewhat gloomily, "That's your fault. Besides, I'm so happy I didn't have to do any chores in the house. It all went to Yamato, ha ha ha." Suzuka let out a sigh. By now, Suzuka was accustomed to Naruto's darkness. "You do know that Ayano-san is going to make you clean up the whole apartment, right?" Suzuka replied. Like I care. I have shadow clones and I'm pretty sure Ka-san wants the apartment sparkle so she won't complain me using them," Naruto replied with a bored voice. Everyone chuckled. Naruto was grinning behind Suzuka and Male as they spoke with Lan. Naruto thought, "Things sure have changed." Kyuubi remarked, "They sure have, Kit." "I hope everything stays this way," Naruto told Kyuubi. "I'll make sure you're happy, Kit, this time," Kyuubi thought. Suzuka shouted, "Naruto!" jarring Naruto from his reverie. Naruto was taken aback. Naruto questioned, "What is it, Suzuka-chan?" Another thing that changed while they were on their training trip was that even though they are still unable to advance, Naruto began addressing Suzuka by her first name and they became closer than before. Suzuka remarked, "I said let's go to a hot spring." Naruto asked, "Isn't that why we're going back home?" Male remarked, "We want to go to another one." Lan responded, "Well sure, I don't mind." "Okay then, there's one that's close to the Fox Shrine," Naruto replied. The girls rushed to the hot spring. As soon as Naruto and the group arrived, it was left to Naruto and Lan to cover the costs. They received the supplies for the girls and themselves after they made their payment. After giving Male and Suzuka their belongings at the girls' side entrance, they proceeded to the male side. The boys and girls were fortunate that nobody was present. "The male side? I still don't understand how there's money in that plastic cart," replied Naruto. "Sigh, Naruto, I am tired of explaining the same thing over and over to you. Just go with it and stop asking," Lan replied. Naruto closed his eyes and relaxed, saying, Jackass. Lan gave Naruto a look. Lan asked in a whisper, not wanting the girls to hear, do you think we're ready for the Akatsuki? Not sure, but we won't know until we try. Besides, Itachi and Fish Face isn't my concern. Naruto replied. Lan was perplexed. Naruto sighed as he turned to face his best friend. You know, you may be smart in school stuff, but you suck when it comes to strategy, said Naruto. Lan shouted, hey, to attract the girls' attention. Anyway, my main concern is Konoha. If Akatsuki was able to find us, then I'm pretty sure Konoha can too, especially with Ero Sennin's spy network, Naruto said with seriousness. Lan broke the silence after a brief period of silence. Lan said, if Konoha does come, which they will, what are you gonna do? Naruto turned to face the hot springs roof while closing his eyes. Naruto claimed that everyone was taken aback by the response. What else am I supposed to do? I'll just kill them? Lan emerged from his disbelief. Lan addressed Naruto, who appeared to be somewhere else, saying, I know for a fact that you still consider them friends. There is no way you have the heart to kill them. There was silence for a while. Naruto remarked, you're right, I don't have the heart to kill them even after what they did to me. Lan grinned. Lan was cut off, though, but I can always throw my heart away if they ever try to hurt you guys, and my family, said Naruto, astonishing Lan once more. Naruto gave Lan a somber glance. Lan, I won't repeat myself again. In the ninja world, the only road for you is death. If you keep thinking that way, whether you like it or not, you're going to have to kill someone. The moment you chose the path of ninja, you pledged to protect your home and family from the enemy, no matter whom they are, said Naruto. You make it sound like you already had your first kill, Lan replied. For several minutes, Naruto remained silent. The only thing Naruto said was, maybe. Lan stared. Why did you take so long to, but? Lan was interrupted by Naruto, who said, if anything happens to me, kill me. Lan yelled, Wah? Are you crazy? I'm just saying, if I go psycho or don't act the way I usually do, kill me, Naruto replied. Lan was taken aback. They were unaware that the girls were listening. The female side, Male and Suzuka, had just gone to the hot water after taking off their clothes. It was just the two girls. Male had been looking at Suzuka when they arrived. Suzuka noticed the stare and asked, what is it? Male yelled, you have a big bust. While grabbing Suzuka's breasts and tackling her, Suzuka was groaning as she felt waves of pleasure. Stop it. Suzuka yelled as she gave Male a rough headshake. Suzuka's face was covered in tick marks. Suzuka said, what do you think you're dong? A lump developed on Male's head as she held it. What? I'm just jealous. Okay, you have such a big chest and yet you don't seduce Naruto-kun, Male replied. Why would I need to seduce him? He's already my boyfriend, Suzuka responded. Male exclaimed, so that I can be an ant? Suzuka's blush at this point was vermilion rather than red. Suzuka exclaimed, wah wah, we're still 15 years old? Old enough to kill, old enough to have sex, or at least that's what Naruto said. Well, not exactly, he said that about alcohol. Male replied before Suzuka could respond. They heard Lan shout from the male side. Hey! Male and Suzuka both improved their hearing by using chakra. The full exchange between Naruto and Lan, it would be an understatement to say that Suzuka and Male were taken aback. Naruto desires to perish? They both thought at the same time. Or if I get captured by Akatsuki, then kill me. I'd rather be dead than give them what they want. Or if the fangirls take over the world, said Naruto. Suzuka thought, well, that explains why he wishes to die. Lan, Suzuka, and Male were not surprised that Naruto detested fangirls while the group attempted to kill the clones. He even had clones dressed as Sakura and Ino. After taking a bath as the group walked, it was still daylight. Suzuka occasionally glanced at Naruto, who appeared to be deep in contemplation. A siren. You kids are supposed to be in school, exclaimed a police officer standing behind them. The group turned around, their eyes wide. Suzuka, Male, Lan, and Naruto fled as soon as the policewoman blinked. The female police officer trailed behind. The group knew she would follow them, so they decided to play a practical joke. When they reached the next corner, they were not surprised that they had outrun the police. The police followed suit, but she continued to flee. Two young children and two elderly people observed the policewoman. They went to an ally. Once the policewoman was out of sight, then there was smoke, and where the old people and kids were standing were Naruto, Suzuka, Lan, and Male. Suzuka blushed as Naruto grabbed her hand and said, we gotta watch our backs. Male blushed as she did the same to Lan. I already know who is the relationship's pants. Naruto visits the rides at the amusement park with the group. They then had dinner. It was 12 in the morning when they all arrived at Naruto and Suzuka's apartment after dinner. As Naruto put it, alright guys, see y'all in class. Everyone nodded. Everyone's lights were out when Naruto and Suzuka went to their rooms. Naruto remarked, "Looks like everyone's asleep." Suzuka agreed with Naruto, saying, "Well, of course it is 12 a.m. Naruto called Suzuka as soon as they arrived at their door. Naruto kissed Suzuka before she could finish. "What is it?" Suzuka reddened. It was Naruto who said, "Good night." Suzuka said the same thing and nodded before heading to her room. Kyuubi began, "Good job, kid. By tomorrow morning she'll be begging you to." But Naruto interrupted. Naruto fell asleep in anticipation of his mother's startled expression. "Good morning." Suzuka pounded on Naruto's side and yelled at him to wake up, causing him to awaken. Naruto simply took Suzuka and gave her a hug despite her blush. Suzuka concluded that her boyfriend wouldn't awaken through conventional methods. She made the decision to employ a jutsu. Suzuka uses a miniature version of Futen Daitopa to rouse Naruto, which was successful. Naruto questioned, "Why would you do that? You wouldn't wake up." "So I had to now get up or we'll be late for school," Suzuka replied. With wide eyes, Naruto rushed to the bathroom to wash his face after glancing at the clock and prepare yourself. Naruto finished, grabbed Suzuka, and fled. He sprinted past his mother, who was taken aback by her son's return. He ran to school despite her calling his name. Suzuka and Naruto managed to arrive 10 minutes prior to the start of class. Naruto remarked, "Phew, looks like we made it." Suzuka rubbed her wrist and said, "Yeah?" Suzuka asked, "Did you really have to hurt my hand?" And Naruto said he was sorry. The couple caught everyone's attention in the class. Naruto said, "What are you looking?" but was cut off when his name was called. "Naruto!" exclaimed someone. Naruto gave the pupil a look. Naruto's eyes widened as he uttered, "You bastard, no one, and I mean no one, interrupts me." He saw Sakura, Sasuke, Shikamaru, Choji, Ino, Hinata, Kiba, Shino, and a black-haired child with his eyes closed like a Pokemon. Brock there with Yasunobu and Mickey. Somewhere else a female voice asked, "So are you sure this is where that monster is?" A man replied, "Yes, I got it from a good source." The woman remarked, "Good, I will finally have my revenge." "Kukuku, I wonder how you will handle this, Naruto-kun. After 3 years, let's see how strong you are," the enigmatic voice said. "Naruto!" exclaimed 8 of the Konoha 12. Naruto's eyes were wide as he gazed at his former allies. When Suzuka saw Ino, Sakura, and Hinata, her eyes widened as well. As Suzuka examined their chest and then her own, she thought, they looked the same except they grew out more. Especially Suzuka thought, "At least I'm bigger than that pink banshee." Choji exclaimed, "Naruto, it's so good to see you." Feeling delighted to see his friend after a long absence, he approached Naruto, who was frozen, to give him a long overdue embrace. As he went to give Naruto a shoulder pat with his childhood friend, Shikamaru remarked, "Troublesome blonde. You had us looking for you for 3 years. Seriously, the least you could do is send us a letter or two." As she tapped her fingers together and blushed deeply, Hinata said, "En Naruto-kunai, it's so good to see you again. I missed you." "Naruto!" screamed Sakura and Ino. "Yo, you fox. You are really hard to find," Kiba exclaimed as he approached his longtime companion. The man with the Brock facial expression from Pokemon pointed to Sasuke and said, "You must be Naruto Uzumaki. Well, you do look better than Gay Duck over here." According to Sauke, Dobi, Shino remained motionless. How the new students from a week ago knew Naruto baffled everyone. Naruto, on the other hand, stood there in disbelief until he realized Choji was going to give him a hug. Naruto believed that the Konoha 12 had come to murder him. Thus, he took the most sensible action. He was aware of taking Choji's hand. He twisted it to his back. Later, he lifted Choji and slammed him against the desk, shattering it in the process. Naruto gave the Konoha ninjas a scowl. Notwithstanding the presence of civilians, Naruto questioned, "What do you want from me? Here to kill me, or give me to Akatsuki to save your own asses?" The Konoha nin had halted their activities as a result of this. He picked up Choji as if it were nothing. The Konoha nins all pondered. Suzuka noticed her boyfriend's grave expression standing next to him. She prepared a jutsu in case she needed it for her part. She gave the Hyuga a fierce look as he visually undressed her boyfriend. Suzuka then took a position in front of Naruto. However, Hinata ignored Suzuka and looked past her with her Byakugan. "Yo, Naruto, what's the commotion? Anyway, do you know why everyone I saw was reading an orange book?" Lan asked Male as he walked into the room. When Lan saw his best friend's old comrades, he stopped dead in his tracks and noticed Suzuka preparing to use a futon jutsu. As he stood next to his best friend, his expression darkened. With a menacing tone, Lan asked, "What are you scums here for?" "The pressure that Naruto, Suzuka, Lan, and Male were releasing paralyzed the Konoha nin. With a Kyubified voice, Naruto screamed, "I'll ask again what you are doing here." He turned his left eye into the fox's eye. In addition, he was bringing the ninjas to their knees and releasing so much Ki that every student had fainted even in his favor. Naruto-kun. As she struggled to breathe, Suzuka thought, he's going to be Kyubified if he keeps on. Male was thinking and acting in the same way. I should be accustomed to this by now, damn it. He must be furious, Lan thought. With the exception of Brock, the Konoha nins were terrified. Is Naruto actually here? Too much ki is being released by him. We would be like those students over there if this had happened 3 years ago, Shikamaru thought. The teacher entered at that moment and discovered that every one of his pupils, aside from Naruto's group and the Konoha ninjas, had been knocked unconscious. What's going on here? The instructor exclaimed. He was rendered unconscious by Naruto's simple glare. Sasuke seized the opportunity to attack while Naruto was preoccupied holding a kunai. Sasuke bounded into the air. Sasuke, stop! Shouted Shikamaru. Naruto-kun! Shouted Male and Suzuka. At that moment, Sasuke was on the ground, and the Uchiha was being held down by someone on top of him. Yo! Alongside Ayano, a woman with long black hair and red eyes said, "I am grateful to you, Ayano-san." Ayano gave the women a furious look. Ayano angrily remarked, "I don't need it, Yuhi-san. However, do not try to disturb the other tenants. The fact that these Konoha bastards are residing in my house is unbelievable." As Ayano watched Kurenai Yuhi, the sensei of Team 8, which included the Hyuga heiress and the heir to the Inuzuka and Aburame clans, she thought, now Naruto-kun won't ever trust me ever again. I need to keep an eye on her. Sochi informed me that she is proficient in genjutsu. Oh no, I wouldn't have fallen for that if I had been more cautious from the start, Ayano thought. If you don't understand what happened, in order to force Ayano to sign a 10-year contract to live in her dorm and guarantee that she wouldn't be able to evict them, Konoha's genjutsu mistress Kurenai used genjutsu on her. According to Ayano, she had signed a document for Suzuka and Naruto to go on a field trip to Akihabara. Furthermore, Ayano was aware that 10 years might be sufficient to persuade Naruto to return to Konoha. She became depressed when she thought about her son. I am the mother of a formidable shinobi who has the ability to wipe Japan off the face of the globe in anime tears, Ayano thought, while I can't even realize that I am in a delusion. I am sorry, Ayano-san, but it was necessary for our mission, said Kurenai. Really? You expect me to believe that kidnapping my Sochi is necessary? Naruto-kun is my son? He doesn't want to go back to that hell of a village you call home, Ayano screamed. He is not your son. Besides, you do not know who he truly is, Kurenai replied. Whispering, who he really is? Ayano asked. Kurenai believed she had her. Kurenai thought, I suppose Naruto didn't tell her that he was actually a ninja or the other thing. I know exactly who Naruto is. Naruto is a former ninja of Konoha. He is also the third Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi no Kitsune. And I know for a fact that you bastards only want him just so that you could either save your own asses by giving him up or use him as a mindless weapon. You think I don't know this? Ayano yelled, shocking Kurenai with. As she left the room, Ayano yelled, I know more about Naruto in 2.5 years than you, who had 12 years to know him, so don't even think I don't know my Sochi. Yes, it's true that he hasn't told me everything, but don't you dare tell me I don't know him. Kurenai was shocked. And if you ever think about doing anything to my family and my tenants, I will make sure you coming here is hell. I will make you suffer just like Sochi suffered in Konoha, Ayano said as she walked away. Returning to school. Yo. Naruto looked around and his eyes widened. His sensei was seated above his erstwhile adversary. His sensei remained the same even after 3 years. He was aware of the changes in clothing, though Kakashi wore a black tie, black pants, and a white dress shirt, but he was still wearing his mask and had his headband over his left eye, and he continued to cling to that. That orange book? Exclaimed Lan. Everyone looked at him. What's so good about that book? Why is it that everyone I saw today was reading it? Lan asked. Kakashi pulled out another orange book and handed it to Lan, grinning. Oh, this is called ICHA Paradise. It's really a good read. Here, have one? Naruto grabbed the book as Lan reached for it and used a wind technique to tear it to pieces. Kakashi's eyes grew wide. My baby! Kakashi exclaimed in a hilarious manner, but when he noticed Naruto staring at him, that stopped. When Kakashi saw Naruto, he grinned. Kakashi recalled his task to return Naruto to the village. However, that wasn't his primary worry. I need to get in touch with him. I will, as his elder brother, Kakashi thought. A flashback. A white-haired man said, listen, we need the Gaki more than we ever realized, so we are on a mission to bring him back. How are we supposed to do that? Jiraiya SMA? Knowing Naruto he won't come back without a fight, Choji replied. Please, it'll be easy, I bet he still has a crush on me, Sakura replied. Hell no, forehead. I'm more prettier than you and sexier, Ino screamed. This continued for several minutes. Shut up. Jiraiya shouted. Both of them did. Listen, there is still an advantage we have, and that's knowing who his parents are. I know the brat wants to know who they are, and the only way he'll find out is if he comes back to Konoha. Jiraiya replied. He glanced at Kakashi, who was wearing a melancholy expression. As the ninjas nodded, Jiraiya said, all right, for now just get ready to camp, get the supplies out. Kakashi was on the verge of leaving, but was stopped. Jiraiya said, Kakashi, we need to talk. Kakashi gave nod. The two strolled far from their pupils. What's going on, Kakashi? You have been depressed ever since we began our mission. Jiraiya responded. Kakashi let out a sigh. It's Naruto, I was thinking about all the things I could have done, Kakashi replied. Jiraiya was unable to finish, saying, there's nothing you could have done, it's those. Yes, there was. I could have just quit Anbu Ops and adopted him like I was supposed to, but no, I was too depressed over the death of Obito, Rin and Sensei. All three of them must be rolling in their graves yelling at me or cursing me, Kakashi shouted. Jiraiya said, perplexing the former Anbu, it's not your fault, besides you wouldn't have been able to adopt him when even I couldn't. The civilian and shinobi council made sure that Naruto couldn't have anyone adopt him no matter what their rank or importance was in the village, but now everything changed. Once we get Naruto back you can adopt him if you want, Jiraiya clarified. Would you have even adopted him even if they allowed it? Replied Kakashi. Well, no, considering I had to leave the village for my spy network, I can't have a Gaki hold me back, so come on, let's go back to camp. Once we have Naruto back you can make him like his father was the best Hokage ever, Jiraiya replied. Kakashi remained quiet for a wrong. Jiraiya, I won't force Naruto to come back to a village that hated him, Kakashi replied. Jiraiya remarked, well, they don't hate him now. That may be true, but if Naruto is happy in this Japan place then I will leave him alone, and if worse comes to worse I will stay there with him and watch over him. I will fulfill my role as an older brother to him, Kakashi said as he turned to return to the camp. Kakashi turned one final time and uttered the words, I refuse to be worse that trash. Since then, rather than taking Naruto back to the village, Kakashi has been considering ways to apologize to him for not being there for him. I don't give a damn if he thinks I'm bad for leaving him or neglecting him, Kakashi pledged, but I will make sure he is happy just like Sensei wanted him to be. The end of the flashback. Naruto, you have grown up so much you became more like your Kakashi father. Tch, you have no right to talk about my father, you trash. Besides, if he were alive now I would beat the shit out of him even if he is the yellow flash, Naruto replied. The whole Konoha was taken aback by this. Naruto observed the astonished expressions. Shikamaru began, and Naruto, you know who you're, of course you would be an idiot not to know, just take the whiskers of and people would be seeing doubles, Naruto replied. Nobody was able to speak. But then again I didn't know until Kyuubi told me, Naruto replied. Kyuubi? Shouted everyone. Oh, I guess you people didn't expect a human to be friends with a demon, huh? Naruto replied. And Naruto-kun, don't listen to the Kyuubi, he's just trying to escape, Hinata mumbled. Naruto gave Hinata a scowl. Kyuubi remarked, that perverted girl is fucking pissing me off. Hinata blushed and turned red all over from embarrassment when Naruto said, and how would you know, you stalker freak? At least he wasn't trying to rape me every chance he got. She did what? Exclaimed Suzuka. Suzuka was the center of attention. Suzuka screamed angrily, you bitches better keep your hands of Naruto-kun. Male, Lan, and Naruto were taken aback by Suzuka's actual curse. Our heroes thought, she has definitely stayed with Naruto, me far too long. Hinata questioned, why should we? And who are you? I'm Naruto-kun's girlfriend, and you better keep away from my man or else I will make your life hell, Suzuka exclaimed, sounding almost demonic. Kyuubi remarked, damn, she reminds me of Kushina way too much. It wasn't just him. Jiraiya instinctively held his valuable portion. Boyfriend. When? How? Was what the fangirls were thinking, Hinata included. The boys, except for Brock and Shino, gazed lustfully at Suzuka. Naruto held Suzuka in a possessive manner and said, that's none of your concern, in the act of causing her to flush. The girls, excluding Tenten, gazed with jealousy and rage. Naruto questioned the dark-haired, pale-skinned Brock impersonator, and you Brock, who the hell are you? The person now known as Sai said, my name is Sai, I am your replacement for Team 7 Inches. This is the Kyuubi Jinchuriki that I was informed about by Danzo-sama. He appears to be weaker than the rest of us, he only uses the chakra of the Kyuubi. This mission will be simple, Sai thought, grinning. Sasuke became enraged when Naruto said, I see, so tell me something, has the Teme tried to rape you yet? But Kakashi, who was laughing, stopped him or sat on him. Sai simply maintained his smile. He has tried multiple times, but his fangirls always get in the way. Sai replied with a grin. Naruto appears to be irritated by this. Naruto confused the Konoha nins by saying, TCH, drop the act, you bastard. Sai questioned, whatever do you mean? I know a mask when I see one. Who sent you? And what do you want with me? Replied Naruto. Of course it was Tsunade-sama, and as my teammates have said already, we are here to bring you back to Konoha and mask. What do you mean? Sai replied with a grin on her face. Naruto was aware of more. This bastard is different from the others, he's concealing something. Naruto reflected sorrowfully on the final line, and what kind of life did he live to have to put a mask on his face? Naruto continued to smile as he glanced at Sai. Naruto seemed irritated by this. Then, without using the Kyuubi's Ki, Naruto glared at Sai, giving the impression that gravity had increased. This time Sai collapsed to the ground, gasping for air. For his part, Sai was witnessing every kind of death that Naruto could inflict upon him. In one, Naruto chopped him to pieces, and in another, his body exploded, splattering blood all over the room. Naruto noticed that Sai's face still had the same expression when he stopped. Sai said, grinning but perspiring, it seems you aren't weak like the reports said. A lot can change after 3 years, but it seems you people are still weak as ever, said Naruto, with the exception of Neji, Kakashi, and Shikamaru. This remark infuriated everyone. They were aware of Naruto's actions and were encouraging them to oppose him in order to give him a reason to murder them. We don't recognize this, Naruto. We must exercise caution, Shikamaru reflected. Naruto placed a hand on Suzuka's shoulder and nodded to Lan, saying, well, it looks like you guys have caused enough trouble. I'll be taking my leave. Who also nodded. A container with orange and blue stripes on the side was where Naruto was standing when he and his group vanished in smoke clouds. Kiba approached the container and said, what's that? Shikamaru appeared to be aware of the situation. Shikamaru shouted, Kiba, no. As soon as the container burst, spewing green smoke with the exception of Shikamaru, Choji, and Kakashi, everyone followed Kiba as he lay on the ground, clutching his nose and going unconscious. Shikamaru remarked, damn, he did the same trick on us again. The smell seemed to awaken every student. Holding his nose, Kakashi questioned, what do you mean, Shikamaru? Naruto is actually a master when it comes to making things like this. This is a stink bomb that is infused with chakra. The smell gets stronger depending on one's chakra capacity. You should be the first one to be knocked out since you have large chakra, but your mask and years of chakra control saved you. Same with me, and Choji doesn't have that much chakra like the rest of the group, so he can only say that it's not that strong, Shikamaru clarified. Then why is Sakura down? She has the same chakra control as Tsunade-sama, Kakashi responded. Observe where she is standing, Shikamaru said. Sakura was on top of Sasuke. As they both glanced, both of them began to perspire. Both of them thought, pathetic, alongside Naruto and the group. On the roof were Naruto and his group. Suzuka, male, and Lan were observing Naruto with concern. He appeared to be thinking deeply. Kyuubi, what ought we to do? Those jerks are here, Naruto informed the fox. I say we kill them, but then the police would be after us, especially Gruman, Kyuubi replied. Do you think he'll turn away if we give him some steak? Naruto inquired. I doubt it. If he did, then this country's security is gonna need some improvements anyway. Got back to the real world, your mate is getting worried, Kyuubi replied. At the mate part, Naruto blushed. We still haven't taken any action, Naruto shouted in his head. Yet, Kyuubi exclaimed, chuckling, and disconnected the call before Naruto could respond. Suzuka said, Naruto-kun, are you okay? Naruto grinned as he glanced at Suzuka. Yeah, just shaken up that they came here this fast, but don't worry, I won't be going anywhere, Suzuka replied to Naruto. Suzuka gave her boyfriend a hug while nodding. Alright, sorry to break up the mood, but what is our next course of action? Lan responded. For now we just live like we usually do and ignore them. We can't draw too much attention towards us. I'll talk to Kakashi Hatake and tell him to do the same towards his team, Naruto replied. Lan gave a nod. So is it okay to go in the classroom now? Lan inquired. Wait for 2 more minutes and then we'll go, let the smell get out, said Naruto. Their girlfriends were perplexed by their conversation. As Lan nodded, Naruto started to explain. After noticing the perplexed expressions, Male and Suzuka burst out laughing. Naruto and his group returned to class after 2 minutes, Despite their desire to stay as far away from the Konoha ninjas as possible, all of the students were glaring at Naruto when they arrived at class. As Kakashi stood next to the teacher, grinning at the group, the teacher said, "Fujikawa, Hikari, Asahina, and Masaki-san, you are late." Lan said, "Sorry sensei, it won't happen again." The teacher said, "It better not." Himiko-sensei blushed as Kakashi smiled and said, "Ah Himiko-san, it seems there are new students that I haven't seen or talked to. Is it possible if we do introductions again?" The female teacher blushed and said, "S sure, please do so. They have been absent for 3 weeks, so they missed last week's class." Has Konoha been here for a week? Naruto thought. No, maybe more, since they would at least have time to figure things out and get used to the culture around here to blend in. As the students let out a sigh, Kakashi said, "All right class, we are going to do an introduction to the absent students. And you have to actually answer. That means Sasuke, you can keep information to yourself." Kakashi responded. Sakura and Ino were jumping with delight, followed by other girls and boys, while Sasuke merely complained. Deja vu. Naruto pondered. The introduction went on with the exception of Sasuke, who spoke more than he had the previous time. Everyone said the same thing. Knowing that he would be arrested or sent to a mental health facility if he said he was going to kill someone, Sasuke growled as he said, "My name is Uchiha Sasuke. I like tomatoes, and putting dobes in their place, and power. My dislike is dope, and weaklings, and my dream is to hunt down a criminal." When Naruto saw Sakura and Ino pass out from the response, he laughed in his head. Suzuka, who was seated in the back, came next after a few more pupils. "My name is Asahina Suzuka. My likes are my boyfriend Naruto, my family and my friends. My dislike is a curtain place that hurt the person I care about," glares at Kakashi. "My dream is to go to the Olympics and be the best high jumper there is," Suzuka stated. "My dream will soon come true," Naruto thought. Kakashi pointed to Naruto and said, "Next is you, you big ball of sunshine." Naruto let out a breath. Naruto thought, "I'm just going to say my name. And remember, you have to tell us what you like and dislike in your dream. You can't just say you name." Kakashi reminded Naruto of this. That infuriated Naruto. Naruto thought, "They just want information from me. My name is Fujikawa Naruto. My likes are my girlfriend Suzuka. My friends, happy Konoha ninjas. Ramen. My dislike is seeing my girlfriend sad. Homework. 3 minutes it takes to cook ramen. And my former friends, crushing Konoha ninjas. My dream is to..." Naruto ceased. A flashback. My dream is to become Hokage Daibyo. The end of the flashback. Naruto thought bitterly, well, that dream isn't coming true anytime soon. A flashback. Officer Grumman approached a 12-year-old Naruto who was eating a sea salt popsicle outside the ice cream shop and said, "Yo Gaki." "Yo," exclaimed Naruto. Grumman remarked, "You really are a sneaky brat, aren't you?" Naruto asked naively, "What did I do?" "I know it was you who painted the whole police office and changed uniforms," said Grumman. Naruto asked naively, "What are you talking about?" Grumman questioned, "You're just gonna play things off, aren't ya?" Naruto appeared more innocent than ever as he bowed his head to the right. Grumman let out a sigh. "Man, if we had people like you were criminals, then all the stress would go to the detectives. You know what, Gaki, when you graduate from high school, come work for us," Grumman responded. Since Naruto was unfamiliar with the term, he asked, "What exactly do you, detectives, do?" "We solve crimes that the police can't do, and sometimes we get cases that can even make Japan hell. You gotta be the best of the best to solve those types of cases," Grumman stated. Naruto thought, it almost sounds like the Hokage position. As he finished his popsicle, Naruto said, "I'll think about it." Grumman threatened, saying, "If you don't agree, I'll drag your ass to headquarters." Naruto felt frightened. How in the hell can he frighten me? I'm a fucking ninja, Naruto pondered. "Alright Gaki, we have a deal. Also, this doesn't just benefit me. If you join us, I'll ignore all the pranks you pulled that were aimed at the police, and we do have a good wage, so you can buy all the ramen you want," Grumman replied with a wide-eyed Naruto. The end of the flashback. Everyone gasped when Naruto confidently declared, "My dream is to become the best detective, even better than Grumman Raiga." That startled and alarmed the Konoha ninjas. He no longer wants to be Hokage? Were the Konoha ninjas' typical thoughts. Suzuka and Mail believed that Naruto wanted to compete in the Olympics and win every sport in order to make everyone look bad. He even told them that. However, Suzuka reasoned that if he became a detective, he could use his abilities and get away with it. He was going to say that or something like that, and Lan knew it. He was aware that Grumman saw Naruto as his son and that Naruto saw Grumman as a father he never had. He was constantly trying to persuade Naruto to become a detective, and when the other detectives learned that Naruto was the one who had pulled the practical joke in the police office, They agreed because they were afraid he would turn into a criminal. Lan grinned. Lan pondered, it was about time you realized that was what you wanted. I see, that's good, Kakashi exclaimed, somewhat let down. Himiko-sensei picked up 4 copies of William Shakespeare's Titus Andronicus and said, anyway, now that is out of the way, let's begin. Fujikawa, Asahina, Hikari, and Masaki, since you 4 have been absent for 3 weeks, you will need this book for English class. After that, the 4 of them went to the front desk to retrieve the book. Fujikawa, you will start first. We are on Act 2 Scene 3. You will be Eren, and Asahina, you will be Tamura. According to Himiko-sensei, both of them gave a nod. William Shakespeare owns the next section, look it up. Actually, I want to avoid trouble. Other students were given the opportunity to speak after Naruto and Suzuka had completed their portions. Following English class, it was a gym before the Konoha nins could even say, hey. Naruto and his group departed. Naruto loved going to the gym. He would, however, curse it for the rest of his life. Today made a guy was there in a green spandex suit, surrounded by other students dressed similarly. Yash, allow your flames of youth burn. Do 100 laps around the gym. Guys screamed. Yash! Shouted the students. Arrrrghh, my eyes! Exclaimed Naruto. Naruto was the center of attention. Yash, Naruto-kun. It is good to see you again. It seems the flames of youth hasn't left you yet, Guy said with a guy pose. For his part, Naruto was curled up on the ground, sucking on his thumb. Yash, my students, please show your friend the flames of youth, Guy screamed. The students yelled, Yash, and began to jog. Naruto got up and went to the changing rooms with Suzuka and Lan. After dropping Naruto off at the boys' changing rooms front door, Suzuka and Mail departed. Fortunately, they had their old gym clothes, so they didn't need to wear green spandex. The students were still running when the group emerged. They were joined by Naruto and his group. They were instructed to run around the gym 100 times with their hands. After jogging, Suzuka and Mail stopped. Thinking that was crazy as usual, Naruto and Lan went on, but there were more than 100. Guy was about to instruct them to complete it with just one hand when the lunch bell rang. To escape Guy's insane brainwashing, Naruto and Lan vanished into the changing areas. Suzuka went to the track to speak with the captain, so they went to the cafeteria after changing. Once they had their food and Naruto had taken Suzuka's share, they found a seat and began to eat while they waited for Suzuka. Because Naruto was traumatized by the previous scene, it was quiet because they didn't know Guy well, the others weren't. Shikamaru questioned, Naruto, is it okay if we sit with you? Naruto flatly rejected them, saying, no, sitting at the same table. Sasuke said haughtily, tch, shut up, dope, we weren't even asking. Red in the face. Hinata sat beside Naruto's right side. For that reason, Naruto groaned. Before Ino shoved Shikamaru, he was seated on Naruto's left side. Kiba sat next to Mail, who was terrified of the looks the Inuzuka was giving her, and Shoji sat next to Lan. Shikamaru wanted to say the final line, so Naruto, can you tell us about any of your journey after? Naruto began to eat while ignoring the Konoha ninjas and began discussing with Lan what his next prank would be. You mean after my banishment from Konoha? Yeah, I had a lot of stories, but I'd rather not tell them to you. With a sigh, Shikamaru began to eat as well. Sakura yelled, you baka! Stop being an idiot and come back with us to Konoha, frightening everyone and drawing attention to their group. Everyone had their ears covered, but Naruto didn't seem to mind. You could hear the anger in Naruto's neutral tone as he said, and why should I, Haruno-san? Give me a good reason. You want a reason? It's because you are the son of the 4th Hokage. Why else? Sakura screamed. Naruto got up and was about to leave when he felt hands on his shoulders. You make it sound like I'm Konoha's property just because of my father. I don't care about that anymore, and if it's about the money from both Uzumaki and Namikaze clan, I don't need them. I'll make my own and make my family and Suzuka happy with that. He was about to yell because he was sick of his former comrades' games, but then he realized the arms belonged to Suzuka. Hey, you weren't going to leave without me, were you? Suzuka responded. Lan, Mail, and Naruto said, she sure changed a lot after hanging out with Naruto. Me. Sorry, I just finished my food. I was gonna meet you at the track field, said Naruto. I see. All right, let's go to the track field then, Suzuka replied. Naruto asked, what about your food? Naruto and Lan went pale when Suzuka said, I made something this morning and I want you to try it. Recalling all of Suzuka's cooking during their training, Naruto and Lan thought, oh no, they had to teach Suzuka how to cook because she didn't have a microwave, but they were a complete failure. Ultimately, Mail and Naruto were forced to alternate cooking. Naruto said uncertainly, sure. Suzuka smiled and said, don't worry, this time I'm sure it tastes good. As Lan grabbed Mail and ran off, He patted him on the shoulder and said, "Good luck, Naruto?" Naruto couldn't resist saying, "Yes," as he grinned at Suzuka. As Suzuka took Naruto's hand and pulled him from the cafeteria, Naruto gave up and said, "Yeah, let's go." Hinata was furious at what she saw. Later that day, Suzuka and Naruto were in the nurse's office. Even club activities were skipped until Naruto recovered. Alongside Suzuka and Naruto, as she and Naruto walked back to their apartments, Suzuka lowered her head and apologized. "I'm so sorry, Naruto-kun." "It's no problem, Suzuka-chan, but why do you always make things spicier than they should? And why do microwave the eggs? You know they will just explode, right?" Naruto said while taking in the sunset. Suzuka looked at her boyfriend to get his approval, but he was staring at the sun. "I'm sorry, but I'll ask Ayano-san to teach me when I have the time." Naruto was not paying attention when Suzuka said, "You know if you stare at it too long you will go blind, right?" Although Suzuka was concerned, he was stopped. Suddenly, Naruto said, "So they came." Despite her confusion, Suzuka allowed Naruto to go on. Naruto asked himself, "I wonder how long they will stay here." Suzuka gripped Naruto's hand in concern. At this point Naruto's transgender identity was broken by this, and he now looks at his girlfriend. Suzuka said, "Please don't leave." A kind smile came to Naruto's face. "Don't worry, I won't, especially since Miho-chan would cry if I did," Naruto replied. When Suzuka saw their apartment, they nodded. They walked slowly. Even then they desired to be together as much as possible. After exchanging kisses, they went to their separate rooms to change. They intended to visit Ayano and inform her of the training. After waiting for Suzuka to finish, Naruto emerged first. They knew Ayano would be in the living room, so they went there when she was. They were currently at the front door. Naruto said, "Ready?" Suzuka squeezed Naruto's hand and nodded. Suzuka replied, "Yep." They were completely taken aback by what they saw when they opened the door. "My beautiful maiden, will you marry me?" Naruto passed out as a result. Mother's Day is just a few days away, and Naruto has nothing to offer Ayano. Naruto chose to leave a clone to go to school while he went shopping because he was in a panic. All of the establishments he visited thus far either didn't have the items his mother would like, or if they did, they were too pricey, and he didn't have the money because he had already spent it on his ramen lunch. "I should have saved money for this day. Damn it. How on earth did I forget?" Once more, in his head, Naruto shouted. "Oi Gaki, stop shouting. It echoes in here and it hurts," exclaimed Kyuubi. Naruto exclaimed, "Well, sorry for having a mental breakdown here." Aloud, then Naruto realized that instead of yelling in his head, he had actually yelled out. He noticed that some women were laughing at him and that others were staring at him as if he were crazy. Feeling ashamed, Naruto fled into the distance. Kyuubi said, "Oi Gaki, where are you running of to?" "Anywhere but there." Naruto pondered. He ran for 5 minutes before realizing who was in front of him because he was too preoccupied with his embarrassment and conversing with Kyuubi. "Whoa, kya." A woman in Naruto. As he struggled to stand again, Naruto said, "Sorry about that." The woman said, "It's no problem." However, she was taken aback when Naruto extended his hand. She grasped and was drawn to her feet. The woman said, "Thank you, you were a gentleman." With his right hand scratching the back of his head, Naruto blushed and said, "Thank you." He blushed even more when he turned to face the women, noticing a stunning woman with long blue hair and a sweater with a rhombus design. "It's strange that Asahina doesn't dress like that." To himself, Naruto questioned but emerged from his reverie when. "So care to tell me why you were in a rush? And I haven't seen you here before. Are you new or just here to visit?" the woman responded. At the conclusion, Naruto laughed and said, "Oh yeah, I came to Yokohama for some shopping." The woman said, "At this time? Shouldn't you be at school?" Naruto said uneasily, ha, yeah, it was just urgent that I skipped school." "Now what could be more urgent than passing high school and getting into university or college?" the woman responded. Naruto said tremblingly, Ha, you may laugh at this, but I'm trying to get my mother a present for tomorrow." The woman asked, "Why so late for the present?" Naruto remarked, recalling his old pals, "Well, I had lots of things to do and things just popped up, unexpected things popped up," and tightened his fists. The woman did not overlook this. The woman said, "Hey, what if I help you?" "Really?" Naruto exclaimed in shock. "Sure, I have children myself and maybe your mom and I may have some common things." She was grinning. Naruto started, "Thanks a lot, Ms., but was unsure of her name. The now known Sasami said, "Sasami, please call me Sasami." Naruto gave a nod. In typical hyperactive fashion, Naruto exclaimed, "Thanks a lot, Sasami-san, I'm Naruto Uzumaki." Naruto and Sasami spent hours shopping. They searched but were unable to locate what they were looking for. Naruto became aware that he had no knowledge of his adoptive mother at that point. Despite her generosity in providing him with a place to live and food, he was ignorant. Naruto had made the decision to end things since it was growing dark and he didn't want to waste the good lady's time anymore. "I'm sorry Naruto-kun, we couldn't find anything," Sasami replied. Naruto tried to be upbeat as he said, "Thanks a lot Sasami-san, and no problem, I still have some time to look for something, maybe I'll find it on my way home." "You know you can get her anything, right? To a mother it's the child's love that matters, you know," Sasami replied. Naruto gave a nod. "Yes, but I've never heard of any of this before. I've never had a mother before." Naruto thought. Ayano was the first person to ever care for me like that, which made Kyuubi sad. Kyuubi thought, "Sorry, Kit." Naruto handed Sasami a white box and said, "It was nice of you to help me. I can't thank you enough, and here before I forget." "What's this?" a startled Sasami inquired as he walked away. Waving to the train station, Naruto said, "A thank you gift for helping me. I don't know if you'll like it, so here's the receipt if you want to switch it." Sasami returned the wave. Suzuka would have the ideal boyfriend in that boy heck as a girl's ideal husband. Unfortunately, Suzuka is still fixated on Suda-kun. Sasami felt sad at the conclusion. Alongside Naruto, Naruto thought, "Damn, I got nothing." He was on his way to the station. "Don't worry kid, get Ayano anything. After all, it's the thought that you think of her as your real mother that matters," Kyuubi replied. As he ran, Naruto thought, "I still want to get her something she really likes." Then he abruptly stopped and retraced his steps to a store that sold glass figures. He examined the figures that were displayed. One of the glass figures was an orange-eyed see-through fox clutching a red book with "Mom" on the black cover. "I love you Mom," was written on the figure's base. "This would be adored by Ka-san," Naruto thought. "I mean, it looks awesome. And it has a fox on it that could represent you since you do look like me," Kyuubi replied. "What aspect of me resembles you?" Naruto gave a deadpan. Kyuubi said, "The whiskers." Before Kyuubi could protest, Naruto disconnected the line, thinking, "I'm going to turn you off for the rest of the day," and entered the store to purchase the figure. He was upset that he didn't have enough money for the train after he emerged. "To me, it appears to be its roof. This is going to get me killed." However, it was well worth it to see Ka-san smile for this, Naruto thought as he began to leap from roof to roof in order to reach the train's roof in Tokyo without being noticed by onlookers. Naruto hurried to the dorm in time for dinner when the train came to a stop in Tokyo as his clone emerged from the hot baths. He called for it after gaining the clone's memories. Naruto saw that the Konoha ninjas prevented his clone and Suzuka from spending any time together, in particular, Sakura and Hinata. With a sigh, Naruto entered the dining room to find the female sensei, Konoha rookie 12 members, and the other regulars at the dinner table waiting for him. He continued to eat as usual and began ignoring everyone but his family and the original residents of the dorm in favor of talking to Suzuka. After telling the Banshee duo to stop talking after dinner, Naruto went to his room to make a card for his mother in which he expressed his love for her above all else, including ramen, and his gratitude for the fact that she looked after him unlike other people, and he added a happy miniature of Kyuubi and Naruto in the card's lower right corner. He placed the card on his desk next to the gift. He turned off the light and fell asleep, grinning. Ayano, 7 a.m. Ayano was hoping to receive a gift on Mother's Day. Time spent with her family and away from the Konoha nins was the present she currently desired. However, she was aware that was not feasible because her son was stranded with the Konoha nin. Naive Konoha nins. As Ayano got out of bed, she wondered, why do they have to ruin my time with my family? She noticed that she had slept in when she checked the time in order to prepare breakfast before the children left for school. She typically got up at 6:30. Damn Yamanaka, Hyuga, and Haruno, why did they have to come to me at 1 in the morning to voice their grievances regarding Suzuka-chan and Naruto-kun? Ayano pondered. She went to make breakfast and wash her face. She found Suzuka in the kitchen, where Naruto and Miho were preparing breakfast. The Mother's Day began this way pleased her. Suzuka, Miho, and Naruto saw Ayano come in. "Good morning, Ayano, Ka-san," exclaimed Suzuka, Naruto, and Miho. The good was left out by Naruto and Miho. "Good morning kids, seems like today is a good day. I'm so glad that you're making breakfast today, Sochi," Ayano replied with a grin. Miho puffed her cheeks and Naruto flushed. Miho complained, "Hey, I'm also helping Nini out," at the end. Ayano and Naruto both said, Hi. Suzuka was laughing at the family's antics, and Miho continued to pout. "So Naruto-kun, where did you go yesterday that you had to send a clone in your place?" asked Ayano. Naruto's eyes widened and he began to panic. Naruto was at a loss for words. With a somber aura enveloping her, Ayano stated, "I'm waiting." After putting the breakfast on the table for everyone, Naruto went to his room when Ayano noticed that. She was going to tell him to stay and give an explanation, but Naruto yelled that he would return. Naruto returned a minute later carrying a card and a white box. He handed it to Ayano while averting his gaze. After examining the item to make sure it wasn't a joke, Ayano opened the card and was shocked to see that Naruto had truly given her a gift. When she read the card, she started crying. He views me as his biological mother. As she hugged Naruto, Ayano thought, I'm the luckiest mother alive. Both Miho and Suzuka were taken aback when they saw the card. Even though they were not blood relatives, Suzuka found it endearing that the boy she liked loved his mother. As Naruto blushed because he wasn't used to hugs, Ayano said, Thank you Sochi. Why you're welcome, but you haven't even opened the present yet, Naruto replied. You didn't have to buy me a present, you know, just having you and Miho with me is more than enough. Ayano replied. Then Naruto recalled what Kyuubi and Sasami had said the day before. Naruto grinned and thought, I guess it's really the thought that matters. Kyuubi said, Che told you Gaki. Naruto thought, shut it, fox. Miho remarked, open the present, I want to see what Ni got you Ka-san. Suzuka nodded in confirmation. Ayano nodded after wiping away the tears. As she began to open the box, Ayano replied, of course. At that moment, Kiba and Sakura entered through the slammed door. They had entered, shoved Ayano out of the way, and were screaming at Naruto about returning to Konoha and being unable to continue their education. The box dropped out of Ayano's hands and onto the ground as she was shoved aside. Kiba stepped on the box after Naruto, Suzuka, Miho, and Ayano attempted to remove it from the floor. Everyone was shocked by this. Kiba was also shouting about how his leg hurt. Kiba jumped on one leg and cried out, someone help, my leg is bleeding. Ayano was astounded to discover that the gift her Sochi had given her had been destroyed and that she was unable to view it. She was upset. She was not only furious, she also desired to kill Kiba. Naruto was so furious that he was prepared to use Kyuubi, and he was actually going to do it, not just say it. Kyuubi roared, do it kid. Kill that mutt and banshee. Kill them now. Naruto yelled, Kiba UASSWHOLE. You're gonna die today. In a Kyuubified tone, however, Ayano's hand on his shoulder prevented him from killing the dog. Ayano reassured Sochi, don't worry, I'll take care of it. Then she grabbed Kiba by the collar and pulled him in an unknown direction and returned 5 minutes later. At that point, screaming could be heard. Nobody mistreated Ayano after that day. After receiving Miho's gift, Ayano hugged both Miho and Naruto in order for the three of them to go together and strengthen their family ties. Miho even booked reservations for 3 at a restaurant. Naruto even recommended that they visit the ice cream shop since he knew the two didn't like ice cream unless it was an ice cream cake. He assured them that they wouldn't be let down. To avoid being discovered by Naruto's old pals, Suzuka and Naruto were taking a covert route to school. Suzuka took Naruto by the arm and remarked, that was nice of you Naruto-kun. Naruto said glumly, thanks, but it was too bad that Ka-san couldn't see the gift. Suzuka asked, what was in it anyway? And Naruto replied. Suzuka's expression was one of hatred. If I see him again, then I'm gonna torture him. Even if begs he learned his lesson, I won't stop. Suzuka screamed. Naruto merely chuckled uneasily. Oh god. The look on her eyes is like Kushina and Mikoto combined when they caught that perverted sage peeping in the women bath. Kyuubi exclaimed. Naruto was unsure of his meaning and had no desire to find out. In any case, he felt it was a wonderful Mother's Day even if it was ruined by Sakura and Kiba. The mindscape of Naruto in his subterranean mind, Naruto exclaimed, what has the world come to? Naruto is thinking this way because a terrible scene was played out in front of him right before he passed out. The genjutsu of Guy and Lee hugging is even more terrible. Dude. That bastard. If he doesn't leave Ayano Ka-san alone, I will shove a Melchi's spear up his ass. Naruto screamed. Finally choosing to strike up a conversation, Kyuubi said, Gaki, I don't think that is the time to worry about that. What do you mean no time? That eyebrow freak better stay out of my family's life, and I do not want to be brothers with Lee. Even if it means the only way I can go to heaven. Naruto screamed. Whoa, he's prepared to burn in hell. Kyuubi thought, that's new, but he chose to take it seriously. Well Gaki, you better get used to it since Konoha found out where you live now. Kyuubi responded. Naruto had stopped his tantrum as a result of this. Oh my god, he's correct. Naruto pondered, damn it. Now Ka-san, Miho-chan, Suzuka, and everyone is their hostage. Naruto screamed. Well, not exactly, long as you show that you are the alpha they won't do anything. Kyuubi replied. Naruto was perplexed. Doesn't that just make the enemy want hostages more? I mean that's what happens in movies, Naruto replied. Kyuubi declared, Movies are fake. As he recalled his middle school electives, what Miho had told him, and his quest to save Princess Koyuki, Naruto remarked, "Well, ninjas are too in this society and remember the Land of Snow movie." Kyuubi was furious. Would ever just show them who's boss and make them see what the consequences are if they mess with our loved ones. Kyuubi yelled he had to calm down for a few seconds before he realized what he had said and blushed in shame to his horror. He checked to see if Naruto had noticed. Naruto was grinning shit-eatingly. Naruto trolled, "Oh, is the big bad demon finally warming up?" Shut up!" exclaimed Kyuubi. Naruto abruptly said, "Don't worry, we'll ensure their safety." Kyuubi gasped. Naruto declared, "They are our precious people." Kyuubi averted his gaze. Kyuubi smiled and whispered, "Yeah, we will." Naruto heard. Then all of a sudden there was an earthquake. "See ya, Kyuubi," Naruto said, "looks like I'm about to wake up." "It's Kurama." Kyuubi acknowledged. Naruto exclaimed, "What?" as the noise and earthquake intensified. Kyuubi answered, "It's K," but Naruto had already left. "Actual world." "What?" exclaimed Naruto as he abruptly stood up, frightening Suzuka, Miho, Ayano, Kurenai, and Guy. Miho and Suzuka gave him hugs. "Naruto, ni." Naruto smiled softly despite being taken aback. Naruto questioned, "What happened?" Naruto recalled and scowled at Guy after Kurenai said, "Well, you fainted when Guy proposed to Ayano-san." Naruto yelled, "You bastard," and let go of Ki, causing Guy to perspire. Guy began, Now Naruto-kun, please calm," but was cut off. Naruto screamed, "I am calm," and everyone winced. "You come here and ruin my life. Then you try to propose to my mother just to take me away from my family. Fuck you. Why can't you understand that I don't want to go back? Besides, it was you guys that banished me in the first place." Naruto screamed as he released more ki. Kurenai and Ayano were on their hands and knees, about to faint, while Miho had already passed out. Guy continued to perspire. "Naruto-kun, listen." Guy was interrupted once more before he could finish. "Guy-sensei!" exclaimed three individuals. Naruto saw Team 9 when he turned around. Lee shouted, "Naruto-kun, that is unyouthful." Ten screamed, "What's gotten into you, Naruto?" Naruto kept glaring at Guy while ignoring Tenten. Neji let out a sigh. "Naruto, stop. Guy is one of the teacher in our school. If you injure him, he can report a complaint to the principal and you could get expelled." Neji responded. Naruto wanted to kill Guy even though he knew he was right. Neji chose to do something shady because he knew that wouldn't be sufficient to persuade Naruto. Knowing he had Naruto, Neji asked, "Would you want to be seen as a killer to the people you care about?" For his part, Naruto glanced at Suzuka, Miho, and his mother. Despite their lack of knowledge about ninjas, he was aware of their familiarity with death. Neji was correct, and he knew it. Then came Miho, who was sweet. He didn't want to cause his adorable younger sister any trauma. "They wouldn't be even involved if you had just left me alone," said Naruto. Neji cast a shameful glance down. Neji said, "Sorry." Naruto became enraged. "Sorry doesn't cut it. You assholes just couldn't let me be happy, could you? I'm sick of this. Get out." Naruto screamed. Konohanans was taken aback. Naruto yelled, "I may not be able to get you out of Tokyo, but I can get you out of my house. Now go. And don't ever come here." As Kurenai and Tenten were the only Konohanins remaining in the room after Neji, Lee, and Guy departed. According to Naruto's Kyuubified voice, "Didn't you hear me? I said get out." Ayano shocked Suzuka and Naruto by saying, "That's what I wanted to talk about this morning." Sochi, the female Konohanins are staying with us. Kurenai's face was smirking. "How?" Suzuka inquired, and Ayano described Kurenai's use of a genjutsu and the forms for the field trip. A pregnant silence fell. Naruto just said, "I see." As he made his way to the door, Ayano felt depressed. She believed that Naruto detested her weakness. As he walked away, Naruto said ominously, "Yuhi-san. Wipe that smirk off your face. Remember, you are within my domain. If I see anything I don't like, I won't hesitate to clean the house." Naruto's pressure was causing Kurenai and Tenten to perspire. As Kurenai emerged from her paralysis form and accompanied Tenten to their rooms, leaving Suzuka, Ayano, and Miho behind, she thought, "It's just like being near the Yondaime." While Miho was perplexed by her brother's reference to clean the house, Suzuka was attempting to console a sobbing Ayano. "Hasn't Ka-san already cleaned the house? The room of Naruto? The fact that they are here is unbelievable. Beneath my roof. Fuck," Naruto thought. "I want to kill them so much. Kit, not saying that I've gone soft, but as much as I want to see you going on a massacre, your main concern should be Ayano, Miho and Suzuka and the rest of the people in dorm." Kyuubi responded. When Naruto was given reason, he was able to break out of his angry state. Yes. That's accurate. Naruto replied to Kyuubi. Naruto was worried about what Konoha would do to him if he refused to accept their demands because Kurenai had applied a genjutsu to Ayano. He was aware that he would kill her and there's no other way he would have it. He sensed someone approaching his room while he was thinking. Naruto avoided confronting the intruder. But still, damn it all. It's one thing to go to school with them, but having to live with them as well, said Naruto. Outside Naruto's balcony, someone uttered, "Ma, Ma." Naruto, just consider this a teamwork exercise. Naruto saw his old scarecrow sensei when he turned around. How the hell? You let your anger cloud your mind. You have to calm down, Kyuubi replied. All right, I'll meditate later, Naruto responded to Kyuubi, but now I need to make it look like I wasn't surprised. Naruto addressed Hitaki with venom, asking, "Hello Hitaki, what is it you need?" Kakashi winced. Kakashi remarked, "I just wanted to talk. Look, I will say this for the last time, I won't go back to that hellhole," said Naruto. Kakashi responded, "I know and I'm not going to force you." Astounded by his former sensei's statement, Naruto exclaimed, "Like I said, I don't. Wait, what?" Naruto was becoming increasingly perplexed when Kakashi said, "If you want to stay here, who am I to ruin your happiness? I'm actually happy that you're happy here. I don't want to be the reason to break up your family." Naruto asked, "What do you want, Hitaki?" In the hopes of being given another chance, Kakashi stated, "I want to reconnect our bond." Naruto glared at Kakashi and said sternly, "If you put that orange book down and think properly for a second, we never had a bond. You were too busy fawning over the Uchiha to even notice me just like the rest of them," Naruto replied. "I know and I'm sorry. I should have done more to be there for you, but," Kakashi responded. "But?" inquired Naruto, perplexed by the direction of this. Kyuubi grinned and laughed inwardly as it said, "Wow kid, you just couldn't be satisfied by having a girlfriend like Suzuka, could you? Now you like older man. You're a sigh." Naruto shouted in his head. Kakashi was cut off, "But you see, Sasuke reminds me of myself when I was younger and you remind me of the fox that killed your loved ones 15 years ago, said Naruto. "No, a very dear friend I lost due to my own stubbornness and pride," Kakashi replied. Naruto was perplexed by this, so Kakashi chose to clarify. "I was one of the 3 students that studied under your father. There was me, Rin Nohara and Obito Uchiha," Kakashi replied. Naruto asked bluntly, "Which team's senseis are they?" since he had never heard their names before. Naruto's eyes widened when Kakashi said, "No one's there, dead." Kakashi questioned, "Do you know the White Fang?" Naruto gave a nod. "Yeah, he was one of the best Konoha had. Apparently he would have been the 4th Hokage if he didn't commit suicide for failing an S-rank mission by saving his comrades rather than finishing it, which is stupid cuz I think he made the right choice," Naruto replied. Kakashi grinned. Kakashi claimed that Tsukumo Hitaki, also known as the White Fang, was his father. Naruto's eyes widened once more. He recognized the White Fang, however, he was unaware of his name. In addition, the White Fang was not made of gravity-defying silver, but rather dirty blonde hair. "Because of the villages and ninjas ridiculed my father so much for failing the mission, he committed suicide. Oh, hate the village and its people. I probably would have become a missing nin, but after that event I set myself into following the rules, setting aside my comrades and only caring about the mission, so you could say I had a stick up my ass like Sasuke." Kakashi looked at himself in disbelief. However, Kakashi was aware that Naruto wasn't in the right frame of mind to laugh at jokes, thus, Kakashi made the decision to go on. "Anyway, I graduated from the academy at the age of 5. Because of that, people began to forget about my father's mission. I was put into a team with your father and Obito and Rin. We were like current Team 7. I would always insult Obito or put him down, and Obito would retaliate and try to get Rin's attention. And another thing, Obito wanted to be Hokage so that he could prove to people that you didn't need a Kekkei Genkai to be strong," Kakashi continued. "I don't believe you. Off all the Uchihas I've met, all of them had sticks up their asses, and besides he was a Uchiha. That's practically being biased when he said he wanted to prove that you don't need Kekkei Genkais to be strong. He has the F-King Sharingan," Naruto replied. "Obito was special. He was different from the average Uchihas. He was like you. He wanted to be acknowledged and he thought the only way to do that was by becoming Hokage. He was ridiculed for not being able to activate his Sharingan, but even without it he was strong. Well, in Ho's own way, I always kicked his butt in the end," Kakashi continued. Naruto did not find it amusing. He was unsure whether Kakashi was teasing him. "Anyway, like me, he was always late for everything. He even stole all my lines," Kakashi replied. "Somewhere, achoo," sneezed a man wearing a spiral mask. A man with blonde hair shouted, "Oi Toby, stay quiet or our location will be given away. The now known Toby complained. Oh, but Deidara-senpai, Toby didn't mean to, someone was talking about Toby. WHO would talk about you? Exclaimed Deidara. Toby was in a state of thought. Toby cheered, revealing the two's location. Maybe Konan-senpai, I bet she's planning to confess to Toby when he gets back. Who are you? Exclaimed a terrified man wearing a cloud headband. Deidara shouted, see what you did, Toby. However, Toby ignored it because he was picturing him and Konan together. Once more, somewhere else an angel with blue hair shuddered. The blue angel told herself, I feel more of a desire than usual to kill Madara. Returning to Kakashi and Naruto were both quiet. Kakashi described two of his missions that had a profound impact on his life. In the first, he pretended to be a conceited Uchiha who didn't care about his teammates in order to finish his mission. Obito, his brother and best friend, passed away as a result. And his Sharingan was given to him in the second mission, in which his female teammate, who didn't want to be a Jinchuriki, killed herself by obstructing his Chidori. The final scene made Naruto want to kill Rin and bring her back to life because she had insulted him and the other Jinchurikis up until Kakashi clarified that his seal was stronger than hers. Rin was a time bomb, and the Sanbi would have destroyed Konoha as soon as she stepped foot there, ending the war. Naruto absorbed all of the knowledge. Naruto asked, obviously perplexed as to why Kakashi shared his story, and how does this involve me again? Last time I checked I'm too old for a bedtime story, Naruto replied. Naruto exclaimed, and it's not even 11 p.m. yet. I wanted to tell you why I was always ignoring you. During your time in Konoha you just reminded me of both Minato-sensei and Obito, that it was too painful for me to remember them, and Sasuke just reminded of my old self that I wanted to break him out of his pride of killing Itachi and teach him that your teammates were your strength and that it's not always about personal strength, Kakashi replied. Oh, I think he knew his teammates were his strengths. After all, he shoved AF King Chidori thought my chest in hopes to kill me to get his Mangekyo Sharingan, said Naruto. Kakashi cast a humiliated glance down. Kyuubi said, Kid, I think you should give him a break. And why is that? Naruto pondered. Cause unlike the others, he's not demanding you to go back, rather he wants you to stay here, and he told you his reasons why he neglected you. Hell, one of the reasons why I'm helping you is because you remind me of the old man, Kyuubi responded. Old man? All of your containers were female, right? Naruto pondered. Kyuubi offered him suggestions, saying, anyway, just give him a break, maybe ask for a spar, and then you could break a few ribs and other bones. Thinking of himself as a miniature dog, Naruto said, I would really like to break some bones. He then stole Kakashi's femur and chewing it beneath a tree like a ravenous dog. The sudden change in Naruto's personality caused Kyuubi to perspire. Oi kid, unless you want Yano to yell at you again, finish this conversation and go make dinner, Kyuubi responded. Oh shit. Naruto pondered as he recalled he snapped out of his reverie and met Kakashi's gaze. I have no idea what you are planning to do by telling me your sob story, and it won't work. There is still the fact that you ignored me and did nothing to stop the council, said Naruto. Kakashi cast a humiliated glance down. Naruto said, but, to relieve Kakashi's embarrassment. Naruto looked away and remarked, I guess I can go easy on you because you are the only one out of all the others that is asking for forgiveness and not demanding anything from me. Kakashi's famous eye smile appeared as he brightened up. As he turned to leave, Naruto said, just don't make me regret it. You won't regret it, Naruto. By the way, where are you going? Replied Kakashi. Today's my turn to make dinner, and Ka-san and Miho-chan asked me to make their favorites. If you don't want to know what happens? Naruto was shivering. Kakashi gave nod. In the hopes that his former pupil would agree, Kakashi asked, is it okay if I come to dinner with you? I'll even help. Naruto considered it. Well, having him there is preferable, Naruto thought. I don't think I can take Kurenai's lectures. Naruto said, sure, just keep Kurenai from lecturing me. Kakashi grinned. According to Kakashi, sure, the former pupil and instructor left the room and made his way to the kitchen. Kakashi was being instructed by Naruto to bring all of the food's ingredients. Naruto came up with an idea while the two were working. I can't believe all of Konoha is going to live here with Sakura, Ino, Hinata and Kurenai's bitching, and Kiba and his perverted mouth, and Sasuke with his brooding. Naruto opened up about his feelings. Not only that, Lee and Guy's stupid yelling. Naruto realized that Kakashi had spoken his mind when he said, oh, you only have to deal with Sakura, Ino, Hinata and Kurenai's bitching. Naruto managed to say, wah wah. The male Mimibers are staying in another inn, while the females are staying here. Since it is a female dorm, only you and Yamato are allowed cause your family members of the owner, Kakashi responded. Naruto felt a mixture of joy and sadness. He has to deal with the girls. For the most part he is not permitted to hit girls. In contrast to the boys, therefore, he cannot put any of the girls' heads through the wall if they cause trouble. Naruto thought, maybe I'll let Suzuka do it for me. Curious, Naruto asked, where are you guys living then? At the Hinata Show Inn. It is far, but with our ninja speed we can. Kakashi saw Naruto transitioning into Kyuubi, so he stopped short. Are you really trying to bring me back to Konoha? With a Kyuubified tone, Naruto inquired. Well, there are others. Why? Kakashi responded. Why would you attend our rivals if you are? You know what? Anyone who mentions Konoha will be sent to Mars just for going there, Naruto shouted. Mars? Where is that? Kakashi asked, and Naruto gave him a foolish look. At first, Kit, you were like that, do you recall? Kyuubi remarked. As Naruto recalled the class laughing because he didn't know any of the planets but Earth, he thought, oh yeah. The class laughed at me, but it was me who got the last laugh at the end of the day. Then he recalled his prank. After Naruto finished teaching Kakashi about the solar system, the planets, and how they might not be alone in this world, as well as about Area 51 in America and all the rumors about aliens and their potential technology, sadly, Kakashi had to use his Sharingan to keep the information in his head. Everyone in the dorm came in to eat dinner, and Kurenai was taken aback to see the former sensei and student conversing. Kurenai grinned and thought, looks like we will get Naruto to come back to us. Hinata was relieved that Naruto might return when she saw Kakashi speaking to him, as were the other girls, with the exception of Tenten, who was enraged by the way Naruto spoke to Neji and Guy. Kakashi placed the plates on the table while Naruto and a few other clones placed food on the plates of Ayano, Suzuka, Yamato, Miho, himself, and Kakashi, utterly disregarding the female Konohas, out of concern that they would lose Naruto. Hey, Baka, why did you fail to place food on our plates? The female Konoha ninjas nodded as Sakura screamed. You can do it yourself. You have hands. All I have to do is supply the food. Naruto, who was seated between Suzuka and Miho, said, the rest is your business. Hinata was depressed, while Sakura, Ino, Tenten, and Kurenai were furious. While utterly disregarding Konoha ninjas, including Kakashi, Suzuka and Naruto were talking to Yamato about everything they had missed. Although he was sad, he wanted to talk to Naruto because he knew that forgiveness was a difficult path. So, you went on a training trip with Suzuka. How did it go? Acquire any new knowledge? Kakashi inquired because he was curious about Naruto's strength as well. However, Naruto believed it was a means of informing him that he had a new Kekkei Genkai. Naruto was imagining the scene in his mind when he said, it's good I can kick all the Hokage's asses, and even if they all ganged up. This was somewhat accurate because all ninjas only know how to fight using chakra and wouldn't think twice about not using it, so his Mechi's door would just kill them automatically. Hee, that looks nice, particularly Hashirama Baka and Tobirama Baka, Kyuubi remarked, his distaste for the conceited younger Senju and foolish older Senju brother growing daily. Does she think she can beat me when all she knows is Genjutsu? And mediocre Taijutsu? Asked Naruto, grinning, as Kurenai said, care to back it up? Prove her wrong and pull a Phoenix Right, Kit. Occupied by Phoenix Right Ost, Yuhi-san, you are aware that only Itachi Uchiha can use Genjutsu. It has no effect on Jinchuriki like me. Kurenai's eyes widened in helplessness as Naruto said, so to me, you're nothing more than civilian fighting cages, me being 10 cages. Kurenai began, I can still, but Naruto cut her off. You can't use taijutsu. I can pierce your heart in less than a millisecond with Kyuubi's speed, Naruto remarked. Kurenai started again, then, but Naruto cut her off once more. My chakra cannot be blocked by Hyuga's. All I need to do is allow Kyuubi's chakra to enter my body. Kurenai opened her mouth to respond, but Naruto spoke first. The outcome would be the same with my fight with her cousin, Naruto said. A demon's strength is far greater than Haruno's, even if he possesses Tsunade's strength, and because of the Uzumaki clan, I have 50 times more healing power than a typical human. If Yamanaka doesn't want to be brain dead, she can't enter my thoughts. Higurashi-san has a better chance than any of you, Naruto remarked. Stop Ost. Well, Nat's door, Naruto-san. Kyuubi remarked. That eyebrow freak still has a chance. Naruto thought, I know, if only I could cover my body with Melchi's door without it attacking me. Kit, that's a smart idea. How about giving that a try? Kyuubi remarked. Because I'm afraid I'll be the one receiving Melchi's door, Naruto reflected. Hey, Baka! Sakura shouted, preventing Kyuubi from responding. How come it's Banshee? Angrily, Naruto inquired. Pay attention to what others are saying. Sakura shouted. Sakura was about to punch Naruto when Kakashi yelled at her to stop, saying, "You have my attention now, Banshee." "So we were coming up with people who may be able to beat you," Kakashi replied. Naruto said, "Only Kisame Hoshigaki." He didn't care if he disclosed that information because he didn't think Konoha would try to hire him anyhow. Base Akatsuki, a purple-eyed shadow, said, "Kisame, Itachi, you will be paired with Tobi and Zetsu and go after the Kyuubi Jinchuriki." "Well, I can now exact my retribution," said Kisame. "Kisame, you should not undervalue Kyuubi Jinchuriki in a monotone," Itachi stated. "He is by far the strongest person we will encounter." "Senpai, what do you mean?" a man with a spiral mask asked, and Itachi gave him a brief glare. "What I mean is, he may be on par with Pain when pushed," Itachi replied. "What?" Tobi shouted in a manner-like voice. "Hey, Itachi, I don't believe that to be true. That brat is worthless," Kisame remarked, "especially when I can use Samahata." "What would happen if he finished eating Samahata?" Itachi asked, and Kisame closed his mouth. "Enough. If the Kyuubi Jinchuriki is as strong as you say, we will leave him for last. New assignment, Itachi. Kisame go after 7 tails, Tobi and Deidara 3 tails, Zetsu and Sasori after 1 tail. Konan go after 5 tails and Hidan and Kakuzu go after the 2 tails." The gentleman with the Rinnegan Kekkei Gen 1 red eye was glared at by a pair of purple eyes as the room went dark with a silent, "Hi. Naruto is back." It was a busy meal. Kurenai was trying to ask Naruto a million questions, presenting him with various scenarios to see who could defeat him. Let's also assume that Yuka invited Kurenai to drink away her sorrows when Hinata attempted to unintentionally spill soup on top of Suzuka. Naruto saw it and connected Sakura, who was standing over Hinata, with a chakra string, causing her to spill water. Sakura will be out of commission for a very long time, let's just say. Ayano and Kakashi were conversing. Naruto and Miho were the subject of discussion. Miho continued to glare at Kakashi until he vanished into a cloud of smoke and then reappeared carrying cake triple chocolate adorned with a design of strawberries and cherries. This was intended for Miho. Ayano received a fruit cheesecake and a deep-fried cheesecake from Kakashi. The aforementioned females became best friends with the one-eyed scarecrow and began to drool. Naruto was unable to concentrate because of the chaos, and he had to leave Sakura, Hinata, and Ino alone because they had all doused themselves in perfume, and he was unable to breathe because of his sensitive nose. In the meantime, Hinata, Ino, and Sakura argued over who was superior, Sasuke or Naruto. Page S. Yamato, believing he was valuable, mentally joined the conversation. Naruto slipped out of the room. Outside, the moon was the only thing visible in the complete darkness, glowing as brightly as possible. "Every time there is a full moon, I get this strange feeling. Why is that?" To himself, Naruto questioned. Kyuubi joked, "Maybe you're a werewolf? TCH, never even consider that, so corny, dude," Naruto thought. When Suzuka left the group, she called out, "Naruto-kun." Naruto smiled as he turned to face her. Naruto questioned, "What is it, Suzuka-chan?" Naruto interrupted her as she was saying, I know this must be frustrating for you since well they came, but does this mean that you—" The two had to pause to catch their breath after what seemed like an eternity. "Don't even think that Konoha had their chance and they do not get to decide where I belong. I know I belong beside you. Right here," Naruto replied. After his speech, Suzuka, who was holding Naruto's hand, blushed and fell silent. The pleasant romantic atmosphere was ruined when Kyuubi remarked, "TCH, and you say that you being a werewolf was a cliché. This is more of a cliché than anything." Naruto was furious. "You're a Sai Baka fox," exclaimed Naruto. When Naruto yelled, Suzuka was taken aback. After calming down, Naruto expressed regret. Suzuka kissed him and dismissed it. She paused. "It's okay, so, want to?" Suzuka started. Naruto pulled her to his room and said, "Yeah, let's ditch this place." A full-fledged makeout session started as soon as he shut the door. And no, get your head out of the gutter. They're only 16, and they weren't doing that in other places. So this is where the monster is interesting. This place is more advanced than any elemental villages, but their security is shit, a shadowy child replied. "So you'll meet him here. Interesting. You do know you can't kill him when you see him, right?" a kid replied. "Why not?" the girl screamed angrily. "Well, I did some research and found that killing is illegal while you were out hunting with your man and may result in death as a punishment," the boy said. "If you want to exact revenge on him for what he did to your village, I advise you to do it in a way that keeps you alive." "Shut up. During the process, let's sign up for a school." As the girl sighed and walked away, the boy remarked, "For better cover for us so we can hunt him without any suspicion." He then followed her. "You monster, you will die at my hands. Naruto is back." Suzuka didn't feel like going to school on a Tuesday at 7 a.m., even though school starts at 8 a.m., for one reason. Her entire body hurts. She thought it might be because of the way he was sleeping, but she reasoned that it couldn't be because she was sleeping with Naruto and he had a leg pillow, so why was she on the floor while Naruto was next to Hinata and Ino? When Suzuka rose from the ground and glared at the foolish fangirls, Naruto also became aware of this. Using Kawarimi, he replaced himself with an outside tree branch and sunshined back into his room beside Suzuka. I will have to set this bed on fire. Do you want to go bed shopping after school? Naruto inquired. Yes, but while we burn it, can we leave them on the bed? Suzuka inquired, and Naruto chuckled. As the couple went to Suzuka's room to change into their uniform, Naruto said, Sure we can, my love. He had used Suzuka's shower because he didn't want to wake up the foolish fangirls and let them know that they were making out with a tree branch. By the way, he took a picture with his cell phone for use in future blackmail. Suzuka didn't mind, but she was blushing because she recalled what Mickey had said about a guy taking a shower in your room after Naruto finished. She went to take a shower and got ready when he left the room to prepare breakfast for them. It was 7:55 a.m., and it takes at least half an hour to walk to school. After eating, Naruto and Suzuka left in Shunshin to the school's roof. He didn't bother waking up the female Konoha nins, hoping that they would all arrive late for a variety of reasons. For instance, if Kurenai arrived late, there was a good chance she would be fired. Hinata, Ino, Sakura, and Tenten would be placed in detention, and they couldn't follow him because they couldn't even use ninjutsu, genjutsu, or taijutsu unless they actually engaged in combat with Akatsuki. Naruto said that if they didn't like it, he would send all of their friends to Konoha and would make sure that they never again sent a team of idiots who couldn't even follow a basic order. After meeting up with their friends and discussing their reasons for being late, Naruto and Suzuka sat down in their seats when the teacher and Kakashi arrived. All right, pupils. The teacher glared at Naruto and said, It seems our school has become famous, thanks to someone in this very room. Both Naruto and Kakashi grinned. Really, obnoxious blondes. We have two new pupils. Once more when the door opened, a boy with long black hair tied up in a ponytail and blue eyes wearing the school uniform entered, followed by a girl with short red hair and purple eyes wearing the standard female uniform. Please come in and introduce yourselves, the teacher said. The boy was the first to speak, saying, Hello, my name is Kentaro Fuma, you can call me Ken for short. While everyone waited for the girl to say something, she was glaring at the blonde in the back, who was perplexed as to why she was staring at him. His girlfriend was also glaring at the girl, but she was also perplexed. Kentaro jabbed the red-haired girl in the side. My name is, yes. Some people went wide-eyed when the girl said, My name is Kagero Uzumaki. At the same time, purple eyes were glaring at the blue and blonde eyes.
So that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel for more awesome stories like this. Thank you. See you all in my next video.